J Squad.
We gotta find. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find.
Yo, what is going on? Thank you, Kamoji, as always, for making sure that I am unmuted when I begin this show. I almost muted it just to let y'all know it was still me. I've been gone a few days, been dealing with some stuff with work, but I am back, and man, the internet has been on fire. So what are we covering today? I've only seen bits of pieces of this news. So yeah, we're going to cover the Larian Studios AI generative like derangement that's been going on online, that they've mentioned it. I also found a video that it looks like Asmongold watched it first, but it's 7 months ago when they talked about their stuff, their like ideas of AI, what they would work with, what they won't, kind of deal. So we're gonna go through some of that as a little appetizer in the beginning of it. I'm going to go over some Lords of the Fallen, because this guy is he's just lost it. And I think it's because, personally, I have no pure evidence to say this. I think it's because his first game didn't do so well. Now, he talks about, I guess, woke, anti-woke, all this other stuff, and how they're not the real gamers. Here, I'll pull up his little tweet before we get started. I'm also going to start doing something a little bit different when I play games, because there's so, like, the Game Awards, there's just so much coming out, right? And me, I like indie games. So I'm going to start playing random demos of indie games that I have that are on early access, ones that people have seen me, and that'll be kind of my background stuff. I have some catching up to do on Arc Raiders now that the winter stuff has launched, but I can get on that at a later date. So let's pull this up first. I don't need the music at all. We might do the sound effects. So go to gaming. Shouldn't really matter either way. Boop. And game capture priorities. So I saw this particular game the other day. Hey, Angry Canadians here too. Welcome. Dwarf Fortress. So I saw this game the other day. It wasn't on the Game Awards. I saw it watching a few people watching a guy that I watch called Splattercat. He's constantly doing indie games and stuff like that. That's where I found a lot of the indie games that I follow. This is Sea of Rifts. If you've ever played something like Sunless Sea, must be the mirror opposite of McDizzle. Who's that? Me? Sunless Sea and Sunless Skies. I actually haven't played Sunless Seas, but I have played Sunless Skies, and I have played the what is it, the web page game that came with it. Oh, Angry Canadian. Gotcha. Hey, Angry Canadian's one of the good ones. He came over to the U.S. and joined the U.S. military, so we can't go anything wrong with him. I don't even think he's Canadian. I think he's British. So anyway, this is Sunless, or Sea of Rifts. It kind of goes after I Do Be American. It makes after those games. This is kind of a game that I love, just like wandering around a world, and it's got like adventures. A lot of it is very text-based. That's right, Kamoji. We love America, even if it's completely in shambles now. This game is about telling your own story while exploring a hostile sea. A loyal crew and ship to call home will take you far, but don't expect your first voyages to be successful. Danger takes on many shapes and sizes when exploring the seas. So the whole thing is you get your own ship, you travel around, you could fight monsters, find shipwrecks and other things, and there's a whole story element to it. I don't know how far this one is going to go into the Sunless Seas idea. What are we going to go with? That's the ship you start out with in the tutorial. This is a refitted freighter. I think we're going to go with the tutorial ship with the big axe. And it's pretty text heavy. So with me watching videos, I probably won't be reading a lot of the text online or on it, but I'll have it on there for a few minutes so you can read it and stuff like that. Bro even uses a fake identity. Correct. Makes it easier to compartmentalize my life. So, but before we get into this, before we go much further, let's look at our boy, Goblin Maxer. What's up, Nazmir? Good to see ya. Goblin Maxer. If you're referring to Smash and his height, it would explain why he's so angry all the time. It would have been funnier to like meet him in person and just instantly start laughing, but this is still funny to see it online. Boom, boom, boom. Let's open this up. So anyways, if you know who Merrick, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, he's the founder and CEO of CI Games, which I've been doing a little bit of research on. It was originally 3 companies coming together to make CI Games. For a long portion of their career, they made a shit ton of games, but it's like, what is it called? Like, affordable games or something like that. So I guess really cheap games until they made the Ghost Sniper game. And that was like, I guess their first big one. From there, they moved on to make several others. Like every time that they've, not every time they, some of the times that they've made bigger games and they haven't done well, you see them do the normal drop thing. Lord of the Fallen, after it came out, they actually dropped 10% of their stash. Yes, Timu and Demion. He's even worse. It's not even worse because this isn't his video. This is in Demion's video. He's just shilling an anti-wokers to try and pander to an audience, which is a feat in itself to out-woke slop post him. Yeah. Lord of the Fallen's, it's been iffy. I don't think it's been doing what he hoped it would do. We love Astro. We do love astroturfing here. There's a reason why Lies of P did better. Yeah, I remember it coming out, and I remember Asmongold like completely thrashing it. Like the whole thing where you switched in between these 2 dimensions of almost like the ethereal plane. It just didn't do well. On top of it, it was a buggy mess. It was like broken at launch. Now I'll give them this. They have done the last year like putting, I think they've said like 70 patches and updates and things like that to it. So they've been trying to fix the game. But I don't think it did well. Sometime after the game came out, they dropped 10% of their staff. They're a very small company. Something like at the time of Lords of the Fallen, they were something like 150 people. So 10% of their staff and then another 30 people later down the line. So I don't think it did financially well for him. I don't think pandering to the anti-woke did financially well for him. Or maybe he saw a boost and that's why he's still doing it now. But but like now he's doing things like there was a whole article come out about him putting boobs in games. And what we're going to do here with this is we're going to watch this Endymion video. It's only 23 minutes long. But I want to see what Endymion says about it that made old Merrick so happy, right? Over at the Total War fan base, they're going through the mutiny of campaign mechanics with synergies and geography can be done to improve this new formula of Total War. Meanwhile, anti-woke gamers talk about the town is Erica ate popcorn and I can't take bad screenshots of her. It's something else, man. It is absolutely something else, right? You would think, like I even posted this to him, like you would think he'd be talking about other things about the game. Like it had a buggy mess. You would think he would be like, hey, I want you to know that we're dedicating our time to make sure that when this game comes out, it comes out, pristine. But what's funny about it is it's coming out as a Epic game exclusive. It will never be on Steam or any other platform. It has Epic has the rights on PC. Let me say that, on PC. It'll never be on any other platform. They gave in exclusivity for the lifetime of the game, which is crazy to me. I don't know any games that have made it because they were Epic exclusives, right? That seems like the wrong market to be trying to get into nowadays. I feel like Epic just stays open thanks to its Fortnite money, because you look at the website, like I've gone to it a couple times because my son does play Fortnite, and it's an incredibly worse version of Steam, and that's saying something because Steam is not great. So I think he's making some moves to get money in the short term, but I think it's going to hurt him in the long term. But let's see what Indy had to say about it, because Indy apparently loves this game and he can't wait for it to come out.
Forward to, because honestly, I can never get enough of Dark Fantasy. Lords of the Fallen 2 is a sequel I'm looking forward to, because honestly, I can never get enough of Dark Fantasy action art.
Epic exclusivity, so he doesn't have to deal with negative reviews and the concurrent players. Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. Like, he's never going to be able to show that the game is doing well, but that's just it. He'll never have to show that the game is doing bad. It just seems like a calculated move because the first one didn't do as well as he was hoping.
RPGs for as long as I live, I have to admit. Something about wielding a big sword, cutting down demons and monsters while their insides start appearing on their outsides. I don't know, man, it just does something to me primitively. Maybe it's just because I'm a guy, but there's...
So I'll say something about, like, I don't play Dark Souls-likes, right? I'll admit, I'm not good at them. I've just never really picked one up. I was going to pick up... well, I have picked one up. I picked up Dark Souls, and it just didn't really appeal to me, right? Maybe because I'm no good at it. But they're all starting to look the same. It's just, to me, every one of them is this same dark aesthetic with these incredibly weird-looking monsters. Or like this one, I feel like I've seen this exact angel before.
Things that just...
Is this Lord of the Fallen, though, or is this something else? Elden Ring?
Bring joy to my life. And one of them definitely is playing as a heavy armored warrior with a two-handed sword that can also cast holy magic on the side like God intended. But looking at Lords 2, it's shaping up to be a really cool game. Originally, the game got into trouble by journalists for apparently catering to what they call right-wing echo chambers.
What is shaping up to look good, though, right? We hold on. I'm gonna move on to the game too. Like, what does he mean by shaping up to look good? We've seen a trailer for it, and that's it.
And this same sentiment has exploded yet again. So now the CEO, Marek Tymiński, and his team over there at CI Games are apparently losers, according to games journalists, for appealing to what players just want in video games.
I want to see what journalist he pulls up.
Like they used to. Is this Stellar Blade all over again? Yeah, it's Stellar Blade all over again.
Whoops.
Here's this from Insider Gaming, which states, Lords of the Fallen 2 will have attractive female characters and revealing outfits, CEO says. This all started when Marek Tymiński, the CEO of CI Games, which makes Lords obviously, stated that he wanted to make a game devoid of political correctness and just give players true escapism, which
he's going to pull Paul Tassi, calling the CEO a loser. Man, he really has something for Paul Tassi. I don't know. Like, I've seen Paul tweet a few times. Like, I follow him just to see what he says. And in my opinion, I've never seen Paul say anything interesting. Indie Man always sounds like he's reading a script. I believe he is. I think he writes, could be said loosely, scripts, and does it that way. But it's always the same, like, inflection all the way through, the same tone, it doesn't ever really seem to change. It's almost like he doesn't have emotion.
I think is a sound way of making games, because that's how games were made back in the day. And looking at the games that tend to win Game of the Year also usually, they also do this as well. Looking at you, Expedition 33. But anyways, a user would simply ask Merrick a question, which was this, as it reads here. I'm gonna buy the game, definitely. Will there be attractive female characters, and will there be revealing outfits and armor for them? And Merrick simply replies yes, because he's a CEO making a game for consumers. And this consumer named Sam just asked a question, and then Merrick, well, he answered it. The response, however, has been anything but positive from the usual gaming journalist.
He said he cares about gaming more than his own life, so don't expect much emotion. I guess, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
They are instead claiming that Merrick is a loser for answering a question that someone asked him, which...
See, here's the thing about Indy. I have to go look up this article because he's like, hold on. Let's go back. He said Insider Games. Yeah, it was Insider Games that posted it. All right. We're going to get to the other stuff. Don't worry. I want to talk about Larian. They're my favorite company right now, and I have to shill. Okay, here's the article. Okay. From the horse's mouth, Lotoff 2 will have eye candy. In a recent post on social media, let's see this post. How about that? That's not the fucking post that he is saying is derangement. Many of you have asked why the gaming initially had body types A and B. Hexworks started it early in 2020 as an autonomous studio owned by CI Games. Early on, political correctness and filtering meant so his company, Hexworks? CI Games is his company. Early on in political correctness and filtering meant not every decision reached me on time. What? I got a lot more involved from late 2024 and now act as head of studio alongside my CEO role. Things are very different now that the studio got so he wasn't all that involved until Lords of the Fallen failed. That's what it is. He wasn't into it, and he's blaming wokeness right here. Things are very different now. The studio is fully integrated. We relayed a lot of wrong decisions and will continue to improve Lords of the Fallen in the real time. And this is just his thing. So this is the one they're talking about. Let me keep reading. The comment under the post came from Curious Fans. I'm going to buy the game, definitely. Will there be attractive female characters? He said yes. He also wanted to stress that Lords of the Fallen 2 will be a proper Souls-like, and that soon enough the team will release an unedited gameplay trailer. When another fan pointed out that the game should be fun and not politically correct, to Minsky, so this is a little dumb. This didn't need to be in an article. In early 2025, Tominsky appeared on the social media rebelling against forced DEI in games. He backed up the statement made by CI Games marketing director, which suggests that the studio wouldn't shoehorn DEI elements into the games just to tick that political agenda checkbox. The Lords of the Fallen 2, I just changed my mind again. The Lords of the Fallen 2's latest trailer has fans excited. Are you looking forward to the game? Let us know. Let's see here. All of the Lords of the Fallen stuff was cringe because it was all pandering to the AntiWoke and not just standing on default principles. Like, if you fundamentally believe in male and female and not in this body type stuff, then you just make your game reflect that by default. Yeah, that's what I agree with. Definitely, just make the game that wants you to make it. You don't necessarily have to scream online. I mean, again, free speech guy, you can say whatever you want. This whole article, though, isn't talking about just this comment. The problem is they made a very, very clickbaity title. And then they talk about him talking about DEI and how he didn't, he came into the company to push out DEI, and that has very much been his persona online since he started talking about this. And then they mention these comments. Like, these comments are very benign, very uninteresting in my opinion, because it literally is just him saying yes. But yeah, he's pandering to a very specific audience because he thinks it's the larger fan base, right? And he's hoping all of them on PC will drop Steam and go over to Epic Games to buy his game. I think that's a interesting one. And then, are you looking forward to the game? I find it funny that I follow another upcoming Souls-like game, Dual Corps, and they're showcasing some gameplay. Meanwhile, Lords of the Fallen is literally just dumb discourse. The contrast is crazy. Yeah, I agree. Like, you could show, like, just like EGAD said, or yeah, just like EGAD said, you can show actions speak louder than words, right? You don't have to pander to this thing. But like other things I think he should be saying is your game was a buggy fucking mess and didn't work right, and the mechanics of it didn't make sense and weren't very good for a Souls-like. So why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about what changes? Why are we posting indie videos? But already indie is breaking it off dishonestly, as he usually does.
I mean, if you're a game developer,
we may not watch this whole thing
anyways. It would be the same as someone just asked you, will there be RPG elements in your game, and you say yes. Like, what's the difference here? Merrick is just answering a fan's question, but of course this is bad now, because if you apparently cater in any single way to what people want to see, this means that you're a loser and are catering to right-wing gamers now, ignoring the fact that Claire Obscure just swept the Game Awards with a cast of objectively good-looking characters, as well as both male and female, by the way. Because if we acknowledge that these journalists whataboutisms immediately then fall apart like wet tissue paper, like they usually do. Nobody likes hot characters. Why are you catering?
Yeah, that's the entire reason that Claire Obscure won the Game Awards, was because they had good-looking characters. I mean, what is this derangement?
To them, they say, as Baldur's Gate 3 wins Game of the Year in 2023, with characters like Shadowheart and Lae'zel getting thousands of cosplays from attractive female cosplayers all...
Again, do you think that's what won them the Game Award, or was it the gameplay, the story, and everything
around
else?
The world, just broadening its brand everywhere. Remind me again how many female cosplayers were doing cosplays of their own free will of, like, Concord characters. Oh, what's that?
There's the Concord. I'm telling you, I need to start like a little checkoff sheet of how, Concord mentions Dragon Age the Veilguard, mentions whatever else, says this.
Basically no one
Concord
did that. Well,
counter,
imagine
yes.
that. It's almost as if the human brain is
Concord
wired
counter.
to understand and to reward something when they perceive it as attraction. This concept has only been around since,
or people award people for good gameplay, right? Good gameplay, a good-looking game. Synthetic Man noticed that too. Concord has replaced woke. Yeah, I guess you could say that, because everything is linked back to Concord. Even though, you can look at Concord, you could take out all the woke characters, and that game would have never succeeded, period. It had a completely terrible marketing plan on how they were going to go in and sell that game. It's funny he's bringing up BG3 having attractive characters when he was the one hammering on the game for the bear romance scene. Yeah, he also, I remember listening to one of his videos on it and him being like he was like, well, the game looks good, but there's definitely wokeness in it. And it's like, okay, but now you're willing to say that.
I don't know,
that it's good, that it's for no other reason than the sexy characters, I guess.
Of humanity? Go ask your dad why he married your mom. His answer is probably going to end with something like she was hot or something of that matter. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, too.
Yep, that's the only reason I married my wife, was she was hot. Couldn't have been all the other personalities. Listen, I have been with some fucking bitches that I would consider hotter than my wife, and there's a reason I didn't marry them, right? You don't marry for attraction. You marry for connection and so many other reasons. Yes, there's probably needs to be a physical attraction there. That's usually how it starts out. But if that's your only reason for marrying, I mean, you're going to fall apart. I mean, yeah, you marry your wife because she's attractive, but it's pretty shallow if that's the only reason. Right. Like I said, you meet your wife usually because you find her attractive and you make the move, or she makes the move on you. It's 2025, but you don't stick with them for that reason. You stick with other reasons.
And if your dad tries to say something otherwise, just know that he's lying to you because he's a dude and looks 100% were something that led to you existing here watching this video in the first place. So let's not play stupid.
Yes, has sex means attraction. Dude, it's so hard for me to believe these guys aren't high schoolers.
About this, okay? I hate this whole we should abolish objective biology thing because it might make a games journalist's stomach rumble and maybe cause them to cry mentality. These people were silent, okay, when all your favorite franchises were being hijacked for years. They celebrated when Batman got shot in the face and killed the Justice League. They gave awards disguised as games for impact, which is just corporate speak for most pandering game of the year. And then they expect you to now be stupid enough to believe them now that CI games are losers because they're catering to what has objectively worked from a business standard since time immemorial.
Okay, how many? All right. Listen, I saw kind of like a lot of the shit around it, and there was Twitter accounts and stuff like that. What news agencies were saying that he's a loser? Like, can he show those?
Remember when Victoria's Secret tried to push what they called body positivity and put a bunch of whales on the runway instead? And then nobody wanted to see that, and then they lost billions of dollars in revenue, so then they swapped back to their angels, which is their term for supermodels, by the way. And then you had articles like this one recently where women like Amy here are complaining that Victoria's Secret was just catering to the male gaze again. Yeah, we...
Oh God, here we go. I'm not even, we're gonna pause playing the game here because this is just, all right, let's see here. The problem is there's a reason he's not showing this. Bro, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Yeah, he's just trying to find something woke or something feminist, because that's what this is. This isn't necessarily woke. This is probably a feminist article. Goes back to 2005. It's a fucking Substack. It's a fucking Substack. Are you kidding me? Like, Indy is the worst at doing this because it's so easy to just look up and see that he failed. This is somebody's fucking blog. Back row. This is nobody. 58 hearts, 22 comments. Wrote in October, by the way. And just like Simon says, what does this have to do with anything? Whoops.
So
Spoiler alert.
We both know if Amy was given the choice to be a supermodel with good looks herself or a whale like the people she's defending, she would 1000% choose supermodel, and she knows that. Everyone does. Why are we pretending like anyone would choose the latter? That's like asking a guy if you could enter that pod that Chris Evans went into to become captain.
Okay, so basically what you're talking about is essentially the problem we've had for years where women feel that they have to look a certain way to attract a man. Now it's gotten to the point that men are falling for this too. You have men getting fucking implants to make themselves look buffer or to give themselves abs or other things like this. Most women want to be happy in most people, I'm going to say people, want to be happy with their body. They don't want to feel like they have to look like somebody else. Looks maxing, yes. Looks maxing. It's the whole fucking thing. He's just absolutely retarded and trying to feed into that idea that you have to look like the supermodel. You're never going to pick anyone up.
Say stuff anymore. It's so stupid. Exactly. Okay. These people are just being oblivious and dumb. Nobody cares about these characters at all. They didn't make any money. Nobody watched the Disney Plus shows enough. So Marvel is, of course, going to course correct and go back to what works. You know, the actual real Captain America, Iron Man, and whatever else they're doing.
Which is going to be boring as fuck. I don't care to see Captain America back on the screen. Like, I'm sorry, Marvel is just fucking
Too, I
dead.
guess. So what Disney is trying to do now with the MCU is kind of what American people like him are doing with their franchise.
Also, why is he talking about this versus, like, I thought this was, the industry must fail. Oh, it says the demands the industry must fail, I guess. But I thought this was about Lords of the Fallen.
To a degree too. These places tried your ways of doing it, Paul. It didn't work, so now they have to fix it. You know the culture has shifted when even Crystal Dynamics has updated Lara Croft in their new Tomb Raider game to actually now look like Lara Croft again. It is, as they say, the...
Oh, they're on the wrong side of Grum's there. Or did Grum's change his mind like seconds after? It's hard to tell.
woke era, if you will, is over, and yeah, it is something like that. Look, the games that keep winning Game of the Year are not the ones with women who look like they should be mining in the deepest coal mines like Concord's roster of characters, where nobody has to
Coal mine reference, that's to the, what is it, that Netflix show?
gaze upon their Quasimodo-like frames or faces ever again. Instead, it's games with characters like I said already. Shadowheart, Lae'zel, Karlach, Lune, and Ciel, or Ciel, however you say her name, from Clair Obscur. You know, games with attractively fit, healthy-looking women that are not just winning from the fans, but even your own gaming journalists and peers, Paul Tassi, in the realms that you exist within, voted for these games to win big too.
So yeah, it's just Paul Tassi. Paul Tassi is apparently the only journalist that wrote anything like this.
So why are we living in this weird delusion where not only are the consumers tired of this nonsense, but even your gaming CEOs, your artists, your designers, your programmers, and more, they are all pivoting to what has worked and always will like they are right now. It's because your way of thinking of doing things, which I have pushed back plenty against for years, mind you, since starting YouTube myself, it doesn't work, and it never will. Why do you think Sydney Sweeney is so popular? Is it because she has jugs the size of melons and flaunts them? Yes, that's what...
Is she popular? Like, I guess amongst a certain crowd, but I don't notice shit that she does. She's just another actress. Didn't her movie fucking fail? That or they're just good games. Yeah, that's the thing, is they're just good games with good gameplay. Have you noticed, like, all the games that are coming out are not the same AI companies, right? They're all independent. Well, okay, some of them Nepo independent. He pulled the what about the consumers? Yeah. They're smaller. Well, outside of, the Clair Obscur stuff, they're mostly like smaller companies that are coming out and making these good games, because they're small development teams that have passion for the games, and now you can afford to make a game as a one-man showcase and on your own. Actually, like, self-publish and not have to go through a company that's going to tell you what you need to have in your games. Bro, she's not popular. All of her recent movies in 2025 have bombed. Yeah, I don't think she's been doing that well. What was she before? Like just a model? I'd never heard her name until this year, and it was after the Cracker Barrel shit, and now they're saying that she's some person saving gaming, and I'm like, no, she's just another actor that's taking advantage of you people to try and make money.
100% wise, yes. Let's be real, it is. It's the same reason why people were and still are obsessed with actors like Halle Berry, Scarlett Johansson, or Anna de Armas. And it's why Hollywood is pushing these women in their movies more often than not. Look.
Oh, God. So what about Sigourney Weaver? This is... The stuff that was good back then wasn't good because those things were good, right? Sigourney Weaver, like Aliens, they didn't need her to be hot. She looked like a normal person. Even more so, she looked abnormal in later movies. This is just, I get the idea that sex sells. Sex sells when you're talking about beer and shit like that. But when it comes to something like a movie or a game, quality is what sells. You can put a bunch of half-naked people in a movie, and it's not going to sell unless it's good, right? People don't watch the pornos movies for their riveting content. They watch it to jerk off.
Look at romance movies and novels, too. You got women out here enjoying stuff like humanoid bulls being milked. That's real, by the way. I'm not kidding. Here's that infamous book on screen here if you don't believe me. It's called, and I'm not...
Yes, this book is infamous for what it is, right?
Kidding, The Milking.
I don't think this is like a full thing. Now there is the whole book talk and all of that other stuff, but this isn't like the main group. Twilight must be Endymion's favorite film, right? Yeah, I bet.
Like, what do you think the main girl in this book does to the muscular bull humanoid man thing in this book on the cover? Gee, I wonder. Use your imagination, guys, but I think you can figure it out for yourselves, probably. And women...
I wonder if he found his girlfriend reading that book.
unsurprisingly, are flocking to these sorts of books like World War Z zombies. They can't get enough of the romance and graphic natures of these sorts of books. Look at Frankenstein on Netflix that just came out. Women are in love with the creature in that movie, but let's be real. It's only because the Frankenstein monster is Jacob Elordi. The dude is an attractive 6-foot-something.
Ah, Jesus. Oh,
Guys, so obviously that was going to happen.
Like, this
Why
is
do you think
just a
Guillermo del Toro
deranged
never makes the
rant.
handsome monsters in his movies, whether it's Frankenstein, Shape of Water, or Hellboy even? Something like a 5'3" monster instead. These women, they lust because even the monsters are genuinely attracted to them in some way and meet their requirements. So why are we playing stupid, Paul? Why are you thinking it's better we live in this weird collective delusion instead? Nobody wants to see ugly people. Even go look up the top female streamers. Hell, even the VTubers, their avatars are all...
Jesus. So now the people who are sitting in their basements alone, not going out and doing anything but watching fucking Mork Pie or any of these porno YouTubers. Yeah, Peanut, right? Peanut isn't he's not an attractive guy. Oh God. And most of them aren't even like the VTuber scene has completely taken over. And yes, they're sexually drawn characters, but they're not even real characters anymore. This is just derangement.
Well, to no one's surprise, all slim, busty...
People are memeing that book all the time. It's so bad. Yeah, that's what that book is. It's a meme because of how bad it is, right?
female characters to some degree, aren't they? Why aren't any of the top VTubers, or like I said, the real-life female streamers, I guess even, fat slobs with double chins that look like Jabba the Hutt? You know the answer, Paul. You have it tickling the back of your lizard brain, but even then, you refuse to acknowledge it because if and when you do, you know it would inevitably deconstruct your entire argument and then prove to anyone with a functioning brain in their skull that you're just lying to them. There's nothing...
So get on and talk with Paul Tassi or anyone, person to person, but you don't have the fucking balls to do that because you're afraid your arguments will fall apart, especially if people brought all the fucking evidence that you bring into your videos but hide where it's from. What a shame Endymion caters to people who need their social media influence to affirm what is and isn't attractive. That's another thing too, right? I saw a guy talk about the, what do they like to say? The average woman or something like that. And I hate to tell them, like, these hot women in movies are not the average woman. But then he was talking about like history, throughout history, men have loved beautiful women. He mentioned Michelangelo. And I'm just thinking, like, go look at the 16th Chapel and look at the pictures of people. Go look at the Greek statues. Go look at other art around the medieval period and, throughout Christianity. The women are not small. They are chunky. And the reason behind that is back in the day, chunky women were the ones that could fucking eat. So they were rich. I'm sure that's not the case for everything. But even going into like the Greek, statues and stuff like that, these women aren't tiny. And if we're going to go with, the traditional attractive woman thing and talking about women usually get chunky after giving birth to, it's a natural thing that happens. If we're going to follow like the Greek side of beauty, that's what this guy, is trying to say. Well, let's talk about how, the reason why all the male sculptures have small penises. It's because back then they thought the boy penis was the more handsome penis, the better looking penis. So maybe the small dick boys got it going, right?
Nothing wrong with putting attractive characters in your games. Final Fantasy has done that with all...
I agree. There's nothing wrong with putting attractive characters in your games. Is it a requirement for it to sell? Not even a little bit.
Older female heroes. Mass Effect did it too with the romance options. The only time BioWare tried to push ugly mongoloid romance options was Veilguard. And do I really need to tell you how that went for them? Do I? Like, these people are stupid is what I'm trying to say. And I'm tired of also pretending like we all don't know the answer when we do. It's basic biology.
Even with Veilguard, man, like, yes, I 100% agree that Veilguard pandered to that audience. But what I would like to know, if they did that same pandering and the game wasn't a complete boring fucking mess, like, did you see the puzzles that people were showing off in that game? Would it have sold badly? I would like to say yes, worse than other Dragon Age games because they've done a lot better writing. But this is the only thing that they have. Concord mention, boop. Veilguard mention, boop. We got it in here.
At this point, if this didn't matter, shows like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, or even 90 Day Fiance, they would not exist even. They even got whole shows about people losing weight to look better, like My 600-Pound Life. You don't see shows about the opposite called My 150-Pound Life, and then their journey is to gain weight, because nobody wants to do that or wants to see that.
Actually, that's not true. There used to be a whole show about excessively fat people that weren't, trying to lose weight. There have been tons of reality shows that are just making fun of people. Are we talking about that? Some of the most popular shows, like, oh god, what's the one with the duck hunt people? Yeah, they're not all very attractive people, but the show was super popular. You're using all the wrong examples, because there's 100 other shows next to those shows that show the opposite of what you're saying.
Remember Extreme Makeover? Why wasn't there a show where they took hot people then turned them ugly, Paul? Oh, what's that? Because nobody would watch it. Wow, imagine that.
What's better is the gay one. What was the gay one called? I forget what it was.
Concept. Amazing. Even Asmongold got in on the conversation to prove that Paul was being his usual game journal self. Here's what Asmon said to him on Twitter. It was a
So it is only Paul.
response to a fan. Here's the source replying yes to a question. Doesn't seem like being a huge loser. It seems like you're exaggerating it to make what he's saying sound problematic. This weird
even stuff like lolcow shows by Keemstar revel in fat people. It's about feeling better about yourself because you're not like them. Yeah, absolutely. That's been a thing in for forever, right? We like watching a train wreck because it makes us feel better about ourselves. Don't let Indy know about the TLC's child beauty pageants. Oh god, I hate those beauty pageants.
crusade against sexualized characters is failing, just stop it. Exactly this. It really is failing, because if it wasn't the women in Lords of the Fallen 2, they would end up looking like Concord characters. Yet you and I both know that's not going to be the case because it wouldn't work, and the fact that nobody in, say, Clair Obscur looks like a land whale pretty much, that tells me that what people actually buy is what is conventionally attractive characters that are being presented.
CEO has no concept of how the gaming industry actually works. He has no concept of what gamers actually want either. It's this completely brain dead idea that it's all about the attractive characters, when that literally, it's like the graphics versus gameplay argument, but way worse, because there is an argument for graphics, right? Graphics can help make a game. The problem is when most people talk about it, high-end graphics is what they're talking about, where gameplay will always be first. This is the same thing, like gameplay will always be first. There's probably literally millions of games that don't have attractive female characters in some form in them that sell well because they don't care they made the game.
Presented more often than not. Any other claim that people actually want ugly characters is just insane cope to me, and it's impossible to deny. Anyone who is ugly would 100% want to be hot instead.
No one said that they want ugly characters. People say they want a good game.
Yeah, so they'll work out, do whatever they can to change it, right? So why wouldn't game companies do the same with their games, especially these days when the smallest wrong comment or slight against an audience can cost you millions of dollars? It's always better to cater to
How is that costing him millions of dollars?
the actual paying customers out here than the people who get free access codes and never pay for anything anyways. Like, I bought Lords of the Fallen myself when it came out. I beat the game. I bought Expedition 33. I bought Baldur's Gate 3. Beat both of those too. Nobody gave me any of those games for free either.
Hold on. What was the game that he said he got for free? So now he's just kicking himself in the balls because he got free access to a game, right?
Even if, like, Square Enix, for example, has sent me codes for games in the past for free, I still end up
It's just with every second there's new stupidity.
buying those games too.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics is a great example.
So that my opinion
If he and his fans had their way, every game would be the first Descendant, and the game and gaming would die. Right, exactly. They posted up that game, and I've even seen them still mention it, from time to time, and it's fucking dead.
is still based within me having spent my own money on those games anyways. Like, these gaming journalists pay for literally nothing, guys. They haven't since forever. So the concept of money versus the content of what the game has, it has no meaning to them because they never have to. Paul would try to push back against Asmongold and say this: where is this crusade? Because the crusade banging on the door every 5 seconds is complaining that someone in a game isn't hot enough. Now somehow the new Lara Croft. If there is one too sexy complaints, there are 200 too ugly ones on here. You're so close to understanding it, Paul. We all know you know the reason why these things have failed, yet you still continue to avoid the truth deliberately, because to admit it is to finally confirm your way of thinking has failed spectacularly, that nobody wants what you want in games. I'm not sorry to say that, and you know this. Look at how the media tried to spin their stories on Stellar Blade when that game first came out. You had everyone attacking it because Eve, the main hero, was too hot and people liked it. But once that game was an inevitable...
No, I don't believe that. Yeah, sure, there were people. Most people were just mocking you because you wouldn't admit to what it was. It was a Gooner game, right? It was marketed as a Gooner game. That's all it was ever marketed as. And it came out and it did well. I'm glad it did well because it actually had content that was something other than Gooner content, but it's a Gooner game and y'all can't admit to it. There's nothing wrong with that. Gooner games exist. Even, you know, porn games exist, but it's still... Show me where they're saying all of this stuff.
Inevitable smash hit and did so well it ended up becoming the best-selling Sony game besides Helldivers on Steam, and it actually did better than Spider-Man, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, all, you know, actual franchise.
It didn't. Angry Canadian sent me the numbers on this. It didn't do any of that.
Before it, suddenly then the media tried to act like they never once pushed back against Eve. They even tried to co-opt it. Remember, Paul, when you said that Stellar Blade's success was only Asian focused and that Western gamers didn't care for it like you did here when it was actually successful, but that ended up not being true? Why do you do this to yourself is my question. It's got to be a humiliation kink at this point or something. Like, just accept that people like conventionally attractive characters in their media, even your own people in your sphere like Insider Gaming. They've also admitted to this in 2024, seeing here that studies were proving that overwhelmingly so that women even preferred attractive female characters too. Like, you know...
God, he's using this. I've read this study. The only thing they talk about in this study is fighting games specifically. But if you read the study itself, if you actually don't read the headlines and you read the actual study, which this guy isn't the study, he's just reporting it on the news, this Grant Taylor Hill, it talks about women wanting to play characters that look more like them. Yes, they tend to pick a hotter character, but they also tend to pick what they would want to be as a fighter. It was a very small pool. We're not talking about a huge pool that you could write off as being, you know, this is the way it is. It was a very small pool. It was about fighting games. And most of the time, women they picked the overly sexual characters because they were the closest ones they thought to representation. But they also tended to pick the stronger looking characters because it's a fighting game. Right? So they wanted to feel strong. And many of them said that they would have preferred a character that looked more like them, not necessarily something that was overly sexualized. They use this, but they have never read the actual study.
Oh, you're cooked when even women are not agreeing with you on this social justice crusade you're going on yourself. Like, just stop it and get some help, dude. Of course, you had other morons.
The study even admits at the end that it's, you know, this isn't a seance, it's a very small, you know, group, and that there needs to be more studies to see around it. Stellar Blade was just Timu near Automata from the gameplay right down to the story. Yeah, I never played it, so I can't talk about, you know, that side of it. But from what I saw online, the story was okay. I didn't hear anything like over the top substantial about it. It was literally, can I copy your homework situation? That sucks.
Like fighting Cowboy, a YouTuber I exposed so badly, like back in the past anyway, about not knowing anything about the landscape of current video games, when he infamously told other content creators to stand on business, which I did, and then when I exposed him in a video, he blocked me on Twitter and then never responded to that video. He then also decided to attack Marek Dominski of CI Games too, and here's what he said. Y'all gonna have a solid optimized game for launch, right? Maybe a demo? We're gonna have titties, bro. So he clowned on CI Games despite being someone CI Games had on their creator council when making the first Lords of the Fallen game, so Cowboy...
Oh no, Fighting Cowboy made fun of you.
Someone that CI Games was asking for guidance. And here he was now attacking their CEO publicly for answering a fan's question about female characters. Like, if
have you noticed that he hasn't once shown the other part of that message, right? He's completely kept that out of the water, even though that should meet up with his like beliefs in DEI and all that other stuff.
Cowboy wasn't a dummy before, he definitely is now. He refuses to, as he says, stand on business, I guess, but instead just parrot like Paul whatever they consider to be politically correct opinions in their spheres at any given time. Merrick would respond to Cowboy and say this: thanks for your help at the Lord's 2023 launch, but it's a real shame you're twisting the narrative. You can tell that he feels betrayed that Cowboy would do this because it's not right. It's honestly just sad to see, man. You're attacking CI Games because they're giving players what they want. Because you want to what exactly here? Stay in good faith with games journalists, I guess? It's really all about access to these people, isn't it? No.
And this is just him making shit up at this point.
Nothing matters more than getting a game early for them. I'd rather have my integrity myself, though. Then you had a user attack Merrick again, saying that he's pandering to...
Dark Fiend! I love this guy. Let's see here, brother, be real. You almost have more patches than you do play. So you pander to the lowest IQ crowd with culture war bullshit. You're one of the most immature devs I've seen on this app. You and Grums are a lot alike. A lot of talk and not enough focus on your games. 70 updates, 6 million players.
To the culture war.
Why did he say players? Why didn't he say copies sold?
somehow, and then nobody bought his game, yet Merrick says, as you can see there, Lord has over 6 million players already. And again, how is he pandering to the culture war? If attractive female characters means that he's a right-wing culture warrior somehow, then it means also that Clear Obscure, Stellar Blade, Baldur's Gate 3, Tomb Raider, every Final Fantasy or Resident Evil ever made, Street Fighter, Tekken, or Marvel Rivals even, are also then culture warrior, right-wing pandering, I guess, franchises then now too? Because apparently if you like attractive characters, it means that you're a culture warrior, which I guess that means every single female cosplayer to ever exist at all, across everything pretty much. Like, do you people listen to yourselves before you speak? Like, there's a world outside of your computer screen. I hope you know that. And that this mentality is so dumb when the data proves that nobody buys games with the opposite of what you morons are saying instead. This other user then attacks Merrick saying that his game is bad and nobody bought it, to which Merrick again says 6 million players. And then this user's Gigabrain response is, nope, I don't believe you. Really sending your best here, guys. Yeah, let's just ignore Merrick, the guy who would 1000% have access to the company he's the CEO of when it comes to lifetime sales. You see what I mean? You give people what they want and the media hates you. You don't give people what they want and the media will just review your game poorly and then write articles.
Hold on. When was this? All right.
About your studio shut.
CI Games has confirmed that Lord of the Fallen has achieved a new milestone, surpassing 2.4 million units sold worldwide since its release in October 2023. The announcement was made in a report published by the company's management board on August 18th, 2025. Lords of the Fallen. Current report as of August 2025. We sold 1.6 million copies were sold in digital format, and 0.44 mil copies were sold physically. He used players because he's only sold 2 million fucking copies of the game. Hold on. I have to. I have to. Holy fuck, I have to. Few more replies. God, where is our... We're gonna keep playing, but just so you know, it's right there.
Or Merrick, the guy who would 1000%. Paul, you're a journalist, my friend. You should know better than this. He wasn't a huge loser about it. He was asked a question and simply responded yes. You of all people should be above falling for headlines alone. I'm just so tired of this, man. I can't even say stuff anymore. It's so stupid. Exactly, okay? These people are just being oblivious and dumb on purpose is what it sounds like to me. I thought journalists were meant to dive deeper, but it seems to me it's more surface level than anything else these days. Even Kotaku, of course, attacked Lords of the Fallen's developer as well as seen here. Lords of the Fallen 2 dev promises sexy women, but fans just want better Souls-like gameplay. Here's more of what Kotaku said about Lords turning their game around with massive updates, yet despite that, they don't like that CI Games did that. Here's what they said. It's a neat turnaround story, in other words, and a game well worth trying out for Souls-like sickos who have been holding off. So it's unfortunate that CI Games' hard work keeps getting overshadowed by an outspoken anti-PC police boss who seems to think it's courageous in 2025 to promise your fans more in-game boobies, except that's not what he's doing at all, and you know that. You see what I mean? It doesn't matter who you're talking about. It's the same thing every time. Let's just collectively ignore what America did actually do with Lords 2.
Another that he didn't show. Did he say what the name was? I was looking for something. Is that Insider Games? Fans just want better Soul-likes games. Lord of the Fallen 2 dev promises sexy women, but fans want better Souls-like gameplay. It's the gamer. Oh, Jesus Christ. So bro flat out just he didn't lie. He said players. He said players, bud. The game was on Game Pass, wasn't it? Players.
Massive updates, yet despite that, they don't like that CI Games did that. Here's what they said. It's a neat turnaround story, in other words, and a game well worth trying out for Souls-like sickos who have been holding off. So it's unfortunate that CI Games' hard work keeps getting overshadowed by an outspoken anti-PC police boss who seems to think it's courageous in 2025 to promise your fans more in-game boobies, except that's not what he's doing at all, and you know that. You see what I mean? It doesn't matter who you're talking about, it's the same thing every time. Let's just collectively ignore what Merrick is actually doing with Lords 2, which is asking people in an open forum publicly what they would want from his next game and his current game too. You know, the exact same way that Merrick did when it came to the 2.0 update that completely reworked Lords 1 and made it much better. So it's okay if Lords of the Fallen becomes a much better game by engaging with their users, asking for feedback and more. But it's not okay to do the exact
Wargaming Dad, you ought to watch There's No Such Thing as Games Journalism by Craftian. Okay, link it to me. We may watch it Friday.
same thing, but also ask players what they want when it comes to character designs. Like, are you hearing yourselves? This is so blatantly hate-coded and anti-consumer, it's kind of gross. Whether it's Kotaku, Paul, Cowboy, all of these people, they just honestly don't respect players anymore. They seem to just want their opinions and ways of thinking to matter more than anyone else's, especially yours, everyone watching this video pretty much. If you ask me, it seems like anyways, they never really respected you, and this kind of proves it. They can say they don't want politics in games and just want good gameplay, which Kotaku even admits and says in their own article, which Merrick and his team quite literally did just that with Lords, by the way. But even then, they still won't congratulate Merrick and his team, despite them openly admitting that they were also walking away from injecting politics in their games as well. Like, look here from WCCFTech.com, they actually confirmed that. They want no political correctness in Lords 2 or even Lords 1. They just want to make cool games and return it to old school game design.
Who cares about who the fuck is WCCF Tech? And why should I give a fuck about them?
This because it goes against the mantra somehow, apparently. Like, you see what I mean? We are long past the whole let's humiliate fans and expect them to pay up somehow. I also don't want political stuff in games of either side. I've said this in many times.
LOFTF have had a thing on Steam that if you owned the game, you could play with a friend. Oh, man. So that inflated their players somewhat. That's interesting.
Some other videos. I want nothing. I don't want conservative nor liberal propaganda in any game. The world of Lords of the Fallen is not the real world. It is not America. It is not Canada, nor is it anywhere else in the world. It is more instead, somewhere that does not exist in our real world. So why would it need to be like our world at all? The same way Claire Obscure's world, besides the Paris imagery, was largely not the real world, nor is Baldur's Gate 3 even. People, to no one's surprise, don't want to be reminded of Trump or really any other political nonsense in the real world when they play these games. Doesn't mean your games can't have politics. They can, but it should be politics that are unique to their world, like Final Fantasy Tactics did or 16 did too. I don't need Planned Parenthood showing up unironically in a JRPG fantasy world protesting, or the trans flag, or even a picture of Trump showing up in any game I play either. Just stop with all of it. Right, left, diagonal, I don't care. The political angle, just get rid of it entirely. Make your games like the old ways, unique worlds, removed from reality, true escapism, then double down on that instead. If that upsets you, you're probably just brainwashed anyway, but hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. I want nothing of the sort in games, and if they do push that, cool, I just won't buy your game then. But also don't complain when your studio closes down either. The secret formula is to just offer true escapism, and while the industry rewards games that do that, they equally hate on them because they don't like one way of escapism over another, despite them generally just being the same thing anyways. It's stupid, lame, and tiring, okay? Lords of the Fallen 2 is not some right-wing game. It's not a left-wing game. It is, as the developers intended, a video.
I don't think anyone's called it that. Everyone's just calling him stupid for saying boobies good in game, right?
And that's all.
He's become this like anti-woke retard and numbnuts. So
it is. If Lords 2 is politically right-leaning, then so too is Claire Obscure, Baldur's Gate 3, and every other good game that also offers true escapism under the sun. And I don't want to see any of these game journalists in the future enjoying any of these games, because apparently escapism means that you're a Yahtzee now. Like, these people are not serious individuals. And again, for the millionth time, gaming journalists and those they align with do not respect you. They never have, and they never will, and I will be playing Lords of the Fallen 2 when it drops. You can count on that. But what do you think? Let me know. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I hope you enjoy some good videos.
He's a pick-me now. He is a pick-me, and I want to watch that pick-me video so bad. But some interesting stuff keeps coming up. I think I'm just going to put it on the docket and watch it.
Want you to be as miserable as they are, and it's really up to you every day to make sure that you don't end up anything like they are. But
so that was complete bullshit, and basically fucking made up. It's like listening to like an old man rant about the old days, but the old days aren't real because he has like Alzheimer's. So what he's saying never existed because he can't remember anymore. So now we're going to get into the stuff that I actually care about, and that is Larian Studios. If you don't know, in a interview there was a paragraph mentioning that they use generative AI, right? And people fucking took went nuts. They lost their fucking mind. Not my favorite company using AI. It's terrible. I'm not buying it now. And it's completely overblown. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I've read a little bit about it and done stuff into it, but most of this is kind of going to be a reaction as I listen to it. We're going to watch old Legacy Killer go through all the information and just kind of talk about it as we go through. I also have an interview that was 6 months ago, Larian talking about their use of AI. And I've even found a video of a hater that says how it's bad. So we're going to try and listen to him too.
So I'm a bit of a loss of words just to start off this video, because last one we were talking about Divinity, we were talking about Larian, we were talking about some of the early expectations, the fact that Larian's saying that this is going to be even bigger than Baldur's Gate 3, the pressure that brings. And I was also talking about some of the criticism with its debut trailer, with some people really upset about how gross it was. And also, again, some people not exactly too happy.
And I'm actually going to play this game now.
Happy about Larian making a bigger game than Baldur's Gate 3, because that was a whole topic of a discussion that we had on this channel about 2 or so years ago. Many developers in this industry not happy with that, with Baldur's Gate 3 setting a new standard. But my God, was I not expecting after the publishing of that video that a new storm just emerged, an absolute explosion. So you need to understand that Larian is now doing some interviews after the reveal. And some of them are kind of exciting. Like, we have this Screen Rant article right here. It says Baldur's Gate 3 studio hints you'll play Divinity sooner than you think. And they've said they want this game to come out sooner. They want a 3 to 4 year development cycle, and it already sounds like it's been in development for over 2 years, which means that it could be coming out in 2027, which is truly crazy, but we'll see what happens, honestly.
That would absolutely be nuts if this game came out already. I'm pretty sure, like, I knew even while they were doing stuff with with Baldur's Gate, they were finishing up things, and they had that one last big patch recently, that they were working on something already. They had already moved some of their team over. But it's going to be, I think, interesting. I'm disappointed it's another Divinity game and not something new. I will say I am a little bit too in that realm, because they said it was a new IP. They weren't doing original Sin 2, so I thought they were completely moving away from Divinity altogether. My brain starts going wild. It's like, are they going to move into a sci-fi game? Are they going to do something else? I think what they're going to end up doing, by the sound of it, and I don't remember playing any of the Divinity games. I'm almost sure I played 1 or 2 of them, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to rewrite the history of those games, because I watched something on it the other day, and the history and the timeline is kind of a mess. We'll see. I'm still excited for it because of the type of deep games that they make, but yeah, I am a little disappointed it wasn't a whole new IP.
There was also this interview that Sven Vink did. He was talking again about their expectations and the pressure that's on them.
Huge surprise. We said, yes, no.
Because I'm sure you don't want to make the same game.
No, we don't want to make the same game now. Yeah, so we want to make a better game, which has new things in there, that lets you do things that you haven't done before. And I think we have those things in the game, so we just need to make them work all together, which might take some time.
Well, Spencer.
And that is the Larian team. That is the mission that they have set out for this new Divinity game, which has been confirmed. It is turn-based, going to be going in that same direction.
That I think is pretty cool, and to me, it's retcon time. I'm sure they'll keep a lot of the stuff in it, because it does sound like there are some interesting story within it, some of the characters and things like that. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of retconning. Hold on. I immediately, when I heard Divinity, I thought, I was hoping it was turn-based, because I think they have, I thought they mastered, turn-based when it came to Divinity Original Sin 2. And, Baldur's Gate just was even better when it came to that, in my opinion. I'm a huge CRPG, tactical combat fan. So I was ready for that. But when I heard Divinity, immediately I thought, okay, well, that's their third person shooter or a third person one, I was thinking they're either going to go third person or even dip into first person or something like that for it. But I'm glad to hear that it is still a CRPG. I think that having a good solid ground like they already have, and then using the rest of their time to make story or improve on that CRPG is the best way to go.
Put them on the map. No real surprise there, but there was some other interviews that emerged, and it was this one specifically which has caused immense controversy, with so many developers within this gaming industry attacking Larian, saying that they are dead to them now. It honestly has turned into World War III on social media, and yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 maker promises Divinity will be next level. This is an article coming from Jason Schreier, and it's this specific quote which has turned Larian upside down. Their reputation is ruined because of this.
No.
And Sven Vink, who's the CEO,
he's got to be playing over the top on this. I don't think their reputation is ruined, but I think they'll be just fine. I think they've got a solid audience who enjoy it. If anything, they're still probably going to pull from the D&D audience, right? It might not be D&D, but players of D&D, people who love the Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games, are going to flock towards a game like this. I know I am one.
He admits that they have been pushing hard on generative AI. Yes, that slippery slope of AI. Although the CEO says the technology hasn't led to big gains in efficiency, he says there won't be any AI-generated content in Divinity. Everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves, but the creators often use AI tools to explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. And for many, that is a big no-no, because that is replacing developers, replacing people. That is the view some people have. This is not using tools. I think there is a difference. People need to understand that a lot of developers, a lot of people in this industry are fine with machine learning in terms of AI, but generative AI, the legality of that is something that's very much big in question. But a lot of people just they will not entertain anything with generative AI. And here's Sven Vink admitting that it made people feel very...
With this, it depends on the generative AI, right? It's depending on the learning model. It's depending on could someone use, I don't know a ton about AI, but could someone take an AI and have it, learn Larian specifics, I guess art styles are hey, I need to take this tree and I need different versions of it. I know there's problems with generative AI copying things, and it all tends to fuck around. But I want to know what exactly it is that they're having, that they would have a problem with. Fishing. Ooh, I don't know.
Very differently about Larian. This is something that you're seeing with the reaction we're about to get into. Now, continue saying the use of generative AI has led to some pushback at Larian, even inside of the studio. But I think at this point, everyone at the company...
With enough data, the Gen AI can be fairly close. You'd still need an artist to finish it up, though. That's something I've always said with this kind of generative AI, is it can enhance people's art if you actually go in and enhance it. You could, say, with that, say, make a bunch of copies, but then the artist goes in and makes sure that there's nothing weird, nothing changing. We've seen what Activision does with it, where you've got a zombie with extra fingers and Ghibli fucking art out there. So there's a big difference. I think I saw someone mention there's two different markets that are happening with AI right now in the gaming industry. You have the big AAA companies that are strictly trying to replace the artists with AI, and then you've got the more these more independent ones who are trying to use it to enhance what's currently going on to help their artists out.
He's more or less okay with the way we're using it, Vink said. So Jason Schreier is saying openly that Larian developers are not okay with it, but Sven Vink is saying that no, everybody I've talked to seems to be happy with it. And this kind of is just something that happens in these, gaming studios, or just companies in general, in which you have the CEO thinking one thing and developers obviously going, yeah, sure, we're okay with it, we're fine with it, but it's more or less they feel like they have to say that. And the reaction has led to even Jason Schreier having to release the transcripts from his interview with Sven Vink, and this is the full quotes that Sven Vink gave to Jason Schreier. So Jason Schreier starts off saying, speaking of efficiency, you've talked about generative AI in the past, and do you feel like it can speed up production? Sven Vink says, in terms of generation, like whiteboxing, yes, there's things, but I'm not 100% sure if you're actually seeing speed ups that much. And this is a point that we've heard from other creatives within this video game industry. Dan Houser, formerly Rockstar Games, he even said this recently. He says that he has not, Sven Vink here says that he has not seen any speed up, but they are trying it. It's experimentation right now. And Jason Schreier does ask about concept art. Sven Vink says, so that's being used by concept artists. They use it the same like they use photos or references. And he goes on to ask other instances. The other thing that I've seen that being used for more and more is placeholders, stub dialogue. Sven Vink says, well, yes. So it depends on the scripter. In our case, what we do is whiteboxing means that the scripts put subtext in there. Some scripters will probably use a chat GPT. Some will write it themselves. It's really up to them. And then Jason Schreier says, but you found that it's actually not speeding things up. It's just kind of allowing more experimentation. Sven Vink says, well, in the sense that it speeds it up because your experimentation is broader, but I mean, it's not as if their dialogues are suddenly being written faster. And on the contrary, and it's not as if you're seeing the scripting go faster. What's happening is there's just more stuff being done. But I mean, if you've used ChatGPT, it helps you organize things, get to it faster. And Jason Schreier points out, until it screws up. Sven Vink says, right, you still always have to alter it yourself. And I mean, like, I'm not native English, and he talks about how he's having trouble communicating in the English language, his full thoughts on this. And he goes on to mention that Sven Vink just hits home on that this is experimentation. They feel like they are obligated to try this. Jason Schreier says it doesn't seem like it's causing more efficiency, so why use it? Sven Vink says this is a tech-driven industry, so you try stuff. You can't afford not to try things, because if somebody finds the golden egg, you're not using it, you're dead in this industry. And then Jason Schreier talks about the reputational damage that can come.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And like I said, you can use it. I've heard of writers using it to not write their book, but to brainstorm ideas like, hey, I want what could happen in this situation, like a rabbit walks into a bar and there are these people in it, can you throw some ideas at me for like brainstorming? Or like I've said with on the lowdown, some of my friends write D&D characters using the generative AI, and then they clean it up afterwards. You can still tell it's AI, but it helped them write a concise story for their character.
From this, Sven Vink says, I think you would find the same argument back in the days for a lot of things, right? Anyway, that has been automated, has always been considered, and I think the part of the job is to make sure that you are competitive and state of the art. So if you don't look at the state of the art, you will eventually regret it. That's going to be even worse for the developers. So those were Sven Vink's full thoughts on generative AI, and it has not gone down well at all. We can start first with former Larian developers and staff. This is somebody who says that they worked there for 4 years. I'm not surprised. He's lying about people being okay with this.
Dude,
this is another.
This just reads like a like disgruntled employee, right?
Other former developers saying, consider my feedback. I loved working at Larian until AI. Reconsider and change your direction like yesterday. Show your employees some respect. They are world-class and do not need AI assistance to come up with amazing ideas. Another individual associated with Larian saying, we lose the chance to support performers like Jennifer English if we let generative AI replace human acting. Every voice acting starts small and progressively levels up to take on bigger challenges. When we let AI do the unimportant lines, BS by the way, people with potential never get to shine. And if you don't know who Jennifer English was, well, she just won Best Performance at the Game Awards for her role as Mael in Expedition 33. And this is not even close where this ends, because the Larian boss started to feel the criticism on social media. Well, we're going to get into that in a second because it is a lot. But the Larian boss did respond immediately to the criticism. It's something we are constantly discussing internally. And these are his full thoughts. Holy F, guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, of which 23 are concept artists, and we are hiring more. The art they create is original, and I'm very proud of what they do. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answered what we used is to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world-class artists. We use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There is no comparison. I talked about how we use machine learning here if you would like to know more. We've hired creatives for their talent, not for their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. And again, the tool side of this is something that some people are okay with. A lot just do not want anything to do with AI, and that is very clear with the reaction that we're right now seeing against Larian. And it must be said that this is not the first time Sven Vink has said this, which is why it makes the uproar that's happening right now a little bit even more surprising. Like, he talked about this in 2024, and what he said in that Jason Schreier article is kind of what he said here in this interview from last year. Larian Studios Sven Vink does see potential uses for AI, but we're hiring writers, not having ChatGPT write their dialogues. And he says, my stance, this is from March of 2024, my stance on AI is really straightforward. It is a tool that we use to help us to do things faster. We have so much work that we're happy to take assistance from anything. However, he adds, I don't think it'll ever replace the creative side of things, and I can put money where my mouth is. Now, this is where he kind of just admits that what he's saying now, he said back then. We're hiring writers, so we're not having ChatGPT write their dialogues. However, I do want to say, I do see a usage of generative AI. I don't buy the full NPC being generated, which is what Ubisoft has been doing and really hyping up. I buy more that there's going to be something that's crafted, and then you'll have AI that plugs into it to augment it. And it should be done in such a way that it's invisible, so you don't know that it's shifting around. And then even PC Gamer says that sounds to me like procedural arrangement rather than procedural generation, which sounds pretty reasonable and something decided on by the writers and artists using the tools rather than a mandate from on high. It also is how we've been using pre-machine learning AI in games before the algorithmic apocalypse now. Think the director from Left 4 Dead or any procedurally generated roguelike. And that is his perspective from 2024, and it's really just interesting to compare to what he's saying now, and I don't think it's all that different. But like I said, the reaction online has been absolutely brutal industry-wide. I'm not talking about a few developers. Everybody is talking about Larian, and many are taking pitchforks out against them, and many saying that they're just dead. They do not want anything to do with Larian, Baldur's Gate, Divinity, any of it. We first have Mitch Dyer, a writer for Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Squadron, saying, imagine your team makes a generally
and this just comes down to that derangement that all AI is bad AI, right? It's not has nothing to do with understanding of what AI could be used for. Vincent sketches a dolphin. Very, very good, Vincent. I'm proud to have you on the ship. It's just coming from we're angry because AI stuff, right? And I get it. There's a lot of bad press out there for AI. Corporations are, definitely using it to get rid of jobs. So, but you have to look at it from day to day. Like Larian has a reputation for, being who they are, being good with their, as a company. So let's look a little bit deeper before we just get mad on the internet. I know that's a hard ask.
Piece of entertainment, and then immediately turning around and using effing ChatGPT to make concept art in an IP they own. We're writing everything ourselves, cannot square with we use AI for placeholder text. And then this is Jeff Talbot, a senior concept artist at Remnant 2 developer Gunfire Games, saying, if you're using it for concept art, you're replacing people. If you're using it for writing, you are replacing people. If you're using it at all in the game development of the product, then it's the final product. Just don't use it. And then, like I said, Cromwell, this is an executive at Larian. He has been taking on the full brunt of the outrage and answering a lot of the outrage. He says that face when you announce a game in 2025, and yeah, that's Yeah, that summarizes what's happening here. Furthermore, though, people are digging up his old tweets and now using it against him. Specifically, it is a tweet like this from just a month ago. AI artists are insufferable. They think they're punk postmodernists, but every intellectual point they make on Twitter was made by a man with a toilet in the 1910s, yet to see a new idea that wasn't just LinkedIn copy pasta. Another tweet from July. I cannot imagine what it's like being a developer under the umbrella of Microsoft and being told you're not allowed to finish the game that everyone thinks is really good because they want to cut costs for the nebulous growth of AI. The worst person you've ever met. Here's how AI could improve this. And he has a couple of more tweets.
Yeah, that sounds like he's talking about replacing jobs with AI, not, using it to enhance the people that you have.
Tweets like this. He has been very outspoken against AI. And it is important just to remember that this is the thing that people are fighting. This is why game developers are very upset, especially artists, because they're seeing their jobs being cut. We've seen that with Activision, but we're also seeing some other these publishers like Square Enix already saying that they plan to use generative AI to fire people. They want 70% of its QA and debugging by the end of 2027 to be done by AI. The giant publishers, Electronic Arts, Activision, Ubisoft, Square Enix are being very vocal about them wanting to replace developers, and developers are scared and they don't want this becoming normalized, even unfortunately if this is where the industry is headed. But it is important just to know that Larian's publishing director, Cromwell, was one of the most vocal people against that point of view that came about just a month ago about Square Enix replacing human QA employees. He said the idea that QA people can be replaced at a large scale is stupid. So compare what's happening now versus that, you can see why people are now weaponizing his old, perspectives and thoughts. Now, he had a lot more response, somebody specifically pointing out these old tweets. Okay, can you guys not squander your goodwill by being flippant about your apparent 180 on the issue? He responds saying, generative AI where unnecessary and with view to make people's lives worse and make more money is a nightmare. One of the major reasons you can't talk about game dev pipelines anymore. AI bubble can't pop soon enough. And then we have another tweet in which somebody says, people don't use Gen AI to make concept art for Divinity. There's so many talented concept artists you all could hire 10 times over the success of Baldur's Gate 3. He says, we are hiring 24 more concept artists and will likely hire more. We certainly aren't replacing any artists with AI. Another person saying voice actors weren't given a generated script to read from. So why are your human concept artists given Gen AI to work from? He says, we have concept artists. They create original concept art. The idea that every concept artist starts from an AI generated art and this is handed down to them is not true. It's a tool that we can be used between teams to express ideas if they want to. But why use it in the first place when your own CEO said it's not increasing efficiency? He says because they want to. And if someone doesn't, they won't. It isn't that deep. Another response.
We're not forcing anybody to use the AI, unlike these companies that want to sell it to everybody, but we're not telling them not to as well. Like, I get the idea behind it.
Somebody saying, I'm curious with games like Expedition 33 and the Alters having the same approach to Gen AI usage and still shipping with Gen AI assets in them on accident, what are Larian's plans to ensure quality control? He says, it's the same when photo bashing makes it in. I remember I think it was a Hitman game that once included an actual photo of a dead guy. Effing unfortunate between a dead guy and the alternative, I don't know. We have good QA in leads. Another person going on a tangent at them saying, for all the downsides you are aware of and for seemingly no upside cited aside from because they want to buy you earlier, what good does this do for your game or company's reputation? He says, the goal of any tool is to enable someone to work better and as a result creates a better game in a way that feels more rewarding and retains more jobs. Our goal is to make people's quality of life better and create great games. Another response saying, nuance was the first casualty of the era we live in. Unfortunately, it's so tiresome, man. Everything is so polarized all the time. People won't even read Sven's response before going all in on the thing bad, you are bad. And he says, when people are out for blood, they will get it. Ultimately, our job is not to tell people what they should or should not think, but to do right by our teams and make the best games we can possibly make, and that's what we'll do. Now, I do think it is rather interesting. You have the outrage that's right now happening with Larian, but like a comment like this, like Expedition 33, they had admitted months ago that they used generative AI with some of their assets in the very beginning of the game's development. It was removed, I think, post-launch after it was found out. But I just think it's interesting because there was no uproar, no mention of this. And if you've been online the last week,
that is a funny thing because They they literally won game of the year, right? It just doesn't make sense that you be angry about this issue but not angry about that. Like, and they used AI generation and won the Game Awards. Isn't that supposed to be a bad thing?
Expedition 33 has been being slandered endlessly, but this specifically not brought up at all. And even Todd fucking Howard himself was talking about their uses of AI recently. This is what he specifically said.
Oh, look, that's a big one.
I love the sigh, like, oh great, I don't want to talk about this.
I view it as a tool. I think creative intention comes from human artists. But I think we look at it as a tool for, is there a way we can use it to sort of help us go through some iterations that we do ourselves faster, not in generating things, but just we're always working on our tool set, you know, for how we build our worlds or check things. And so I think if you go back 10 years ago, like that version of Photoshop, you wouldn't want to go back to that version of Photoshop.
I disagree.
We want to protect the artistry because that's the human intention of it is what makes.
Yeah, so that was what Todd talked about. We talked about this in a separate video, but I find it very interesting that I think it is just because of Larian's reputation, this gaming industry. People really do hold them as the gold standard, and the fact that they are now not perfect like I think a lot of people thought they were, this is the reaction we're getting. That's why Bethesda's Todd Howard, nobody was even talking about this. Nobody has. This is an interview from a week ago, and there was no articles, no conversation, no nothing. Even the Expedition 33 team, which won the most game awards at the Game Awards, like, that's something they didn't feel any of the, you know, the wrath that's right now happening at Larian for its use of Gen AI. But it just must be mentioned. This is the reaction we're seeing. We have one user that's, yeah, critical failure, wisdom 2. Yeah, that's the reaction that they're feeling right now online. And this is an ex-Call of Duty developer saying, I forcibly disabled all the AI tooling in Google and Jira for our entire organization on their, I think that's their indie game, Be Better. This is a response to Sven Vink. Another person, this is an indie game dev in
who gives a fuck what you did? Stop. You're just trying to signal for attention.
Cartoonist saying, asking your concept artists to use AI, which will eventually make their careers obsolete, is worse than having no artists at all. It's like asking them to dig their own graves before, yeah. F your game and your studio, your artists should all quit. And this is this is some of just a small bit of how bad it has been. Like, Larian's being torn to shreds right now. We have a renowned animation systems employee developer. He's powered games and franchises like Baldur's Gate, Elder Scrolls, and Age of Empires. He responds saying, because you neither paid, and this is a response to Sven Vink again, because you neither paid nor credited nor even acknowledged the artist whose work you're now implicitly using. This is pretty simple. If you go out and buy a bunch of art books and you look through those to get ideas, the people who made the art books get the money one for one for every studio that ever buys those books. If you go to someone's portfolio page on the internet and get some ideas, you know now that the person is, and maybe you really like what they did. Maybe you might even hire them to do concept art for your game someday. If you do a generative AI to generate ideas for you.
But you can just go online and look and never pay them a dime. And I mean, you can go full on the Bungie route and just completely copy all of their art and hope you don't get caught.
You pay Google and that's it. The artists who made everything that goes into it, they get nothing. They do not get money. They do not get exposure. They get nothing. They do not even get the bare minimum acknowledgement for you that they even existed. I'm glad players are angry about generative AI. I hope they even get more angry. If you like generative AI as a tool, advocate for a properly licensed, properly attributed version of it first. If instead you choose to use generative AI and ignore the ethical issues, you more than deserve the backlash. We have a game developer. This is an ex-Call of Duty Hunt Showdown PUBG developer saying, here's my 2 cents. They go on to mention that I hate seeing AI in mood boards. It's of no value to me. There's no culture, no consideration, no material reference. If I go to a museum, I see objects that expand my understanding of human creativity and production. AI can't even get wood knurling right. They go on to say, as an extreme example, example, I design guns for video games. AI does not understand how guns work, how they're machined, the details are lost, what it provides is nothing I can learn more about. It is a poor facsimile, and it's disappointing to see AI being used this way. I actually think they use it to render concept is more acceptable than this.
One thing too is like ARC's use of the generative AI for speech and stuff like that is much more egregious, I think, than what Sven's talking about. They hired artists to do a few lines, teach the AI, and then that was it. Now the artists obviously still get paid for their work, but it's going to get to the point that, once you have enough artists' voices on the payward, why hire more artists? You could say that in it. It just seems much more egregious than the way he's talking about using the AI, even though there is some of that in there.
As at least the important part, the idea is human, whereas rendering could just also be done with photo bashing or whatever. Either way, Larian communicated this poorly. We next have this is another viral tweet. Do not even let this boring, uncreative losers convince you that a little AI use is okay. Humans lost out on jobs because of this, and yet the game won't be any cheaper, but at least the credits will be shorter. Another individual saying how to lose me as a consumer 101. Another viral post, this is actually coming from a Castlevania Netflix director, saying if you're using generative AI for concept art, then yes, you did use AI generated content in your game. What the hell makes you think visual artists don't deserve the same respect as actors and writers? And we have an ex-BioWare current Battlefield 6 level designer saying, in a world where generative AI wasn't being trained on copyright works without consent, data centers weren't causing ecological harm and inflating the cost of electricity, and tech CEOs weren't looking for ways to replace their workers with it, these would be entirely valid uses of AI, in my opinion. Then here we have an ex-Blizzard, Arcane, and Bungie game dev saying, Larian, are you in the right headspace to receive information that could possibly hurt your KPIs? Then we here have an indie communication director saying, sending strength to every Larian employee who hates AI and has to sit through the discourse of another dipshit slop-piled CEO's comments. Another comment, alright, so the people who didn't want Dragon Age to go to Larian, I understand now. We have an ex-Blizzard communication manager, super disappointing from Larian. We have an artist who says, I hope Larian understands what the backlash they about to have was cultivated by their own words. This is next from an EA game developer saying the beatings continue until morale improves. This is an ex-Bungie ESO game dev saying it's a no from me. Then we have an ex-Rocksteady Games current narrative designer at Sweet Baby.
Jesus Christ. I didn't really realize it was this many games industry people going at it. I still think it's a fucking brain dead take. Obviously there could be something that changes my mind because it could absolutely go ham for it. And we'll see what that looks like.
Controversial. Sometimes I think people outside narrative sincerely believe that placeholder text reads like placeholder, I am reloading, because the writers don't have time to write anything, and not because it needs to be highly noticeable amongst hundreds of lines of finished dialogue. Placeholder text isn't supposed to be unique per line, it's supposed to be an instruction to the writer with a great big warning sign slapped on the top so that it doesn't slip into the finished game. Unique sentences of bland writing are the least helpful thing to use for that purpose. I also, for what it's worth, find that one of the more frustrating blockers to writing is when there's already a bad suggestion of what you should say, you are no longer able to organically find the idea because the suggestion in front of you knocks off the track of your natural thought process. And the next comment we have is from a CD Projekt Red artist saying, it's all bad, but it's disgusting to imply that using Gen AI for concept art is comparable to placeholder text. This is a ex-Bungie, Ubisoft, and Halo game dev who says, replacing reference with AI, you gotta be kidding me with this garbage. Real-world reference or understanding how and why you're using other people's work as reference is a necessary and wonderful part of the process. I don't need generative rip-offs when I can go to the source and actually learn. Here next we have a Respawn game dev who says, I don't know why the idea of developing concept art with AI is somehow meant to convince us that AI isn't replacing creative professions, when concept art is one of the single most creative and imaginative parts of the entire game development process. In the more than a decade I've been making games, one of the most consistently and literal breathtaking moments in any process is seeing the way a concept artist brings something descriptive and flat to life. That's pure collaboration and trust. The alternative is soulless. And we have another individual. This is actually one of the people. This is one of the individuals that was most vocal about Baldur's Gate 3, about it not setting a new standard. Xavier Nelson, he's the one who really started all that conversation 2 years ago, and here he is now. He worked on Borderlands 4 recently. He says about this current ordeal with Larian, I adore the work and advocacy of Larian and wish it extended to respecting and refining the craft used in all of their processes, rather than selectively eroding them with AI, especially because it's those refined processes that have produced the games so many loved over their last 3 titles. In a lot of ways, Larian was a poster child alongside folks like Remedy for how retaining a team and continuing to refine a toolset makes seemingly impossible things achievable. Why spend 2 years talking about how critical this was to Baldur's Gate 3's existence, and then say major parts of it don't matter? Here we next have an Insomniac Games narrative designer, I believe recently working on Miles Morales, saying, damn, I was excited about Divinity. Oh well, no way I'm playing it now. This is a Magic the Gathering artist who says watching someone toss away S-tier goodwill for the sake of AI is kind of hard to watch. Hope companies start to figure out the toxicity of AI because their employees and consumers do. We have a Bethesda Game Studios designer who says, I can hallucinate on my own, thank you very much. We also have another voice actor saying using Gen AI for concept art is so effing stupid because, like, that's what you get. That's where you get the cool shit. That's the blue sky phase where artists make pieces of art that will be seen by a teenager later and change their life forever. Why would you want to start from mediocre? Why would you do that? And an ex-BioWare current Cloud Chamber artist saying we only use Gen AI to replace real-world reference is actually the funniest stupid way to use it, in my opinion. You cannot misunderstand how art works more. Here we have an indie developer with a very different perspective than the ones that we've just gone over. And he says, I got in some hot water for saying this before, but general audiences really won't care about Gen AI in the AAA games. Nobody's going to boycott Divinity or GTA or Mario.
Oh, that's true. That is a very, well, I have a caveat I would say to that. It's true for the most part, but if games start looking more and more like slop, then yeah, people are going to stop buying those games. But if it's used in a way that, you know, enhances the game, or even if it's unnoticeable, right? It doesn't sound like AI, it doesn't look like AI, which most people won't, then it's not going to matter to them. And like a lot of these people, like, I just disagree with. You can, like, one thing you can do with people is brainstorm in a room, right? And talk about different things. You can do the same thing with yourself. Sometimes you have to go look for things to get you out of that writer's block or to inspire you to do something. I don't think generative AI is going to take that away from somebody. It may spark something in someone's imagination that they didn't know. Now, I agree there could be a problem with creep, right? Where people use it as a crutch too often, in which case it becomes a problem. Like we've looked at, you know, some we haven't looked at the study itself, but we've seen the MIT study where people who are using it for school and things like that are obviously having less brain function. You know, there's a problem with papers getting written and being just AI generated, so people aren't learning the material, they're just typing things into AI. There's a lot of problems with it, but it's here to stay, and we have to find out where it can stay without, like, that is good, that is helpful, that you know is more than just, you know, Square Enix trying to replace all of its QA testers.
And this is the thing that scares a lot of game developers. It's normalization. Right now we are hearing a lot of commotion as we've gone throughout this video, a lot of commotion, a lot of outrage over this, but the general audience does not care. I think you're going to see that with many franchises moving forward. This is the staple that's why EA, Activision, they don't care about replacing developers, because they know that the casual audience is still going to be coughing up cash to play their yearly Call of Duty or EA FC. That audience is going to be there. People don't care. That is the unfortunate reality here, and getting to them to care is very difficult, because the online outrage really doesn't translate to the real world, and we have not seen that yet. But I do think that this isn't just a topic topic necessarily for gaming, but our entire lifestyle, especially society. We're not prepared for this AI reality. And I don't think lawmakers or anything is ready for the amount of jobs that are going to be lost because of this. But all that is on the assumption that AI is going to take off, and that remains to be seen. It really does. Some people believe it's a bubble, some people do not. They think it is coming no matter what. The question is, though, is it the next 5 years or is it the next 50 or so years? But we have another individual saying,
I mean, it's moving so fast, it's probably going to be the next 5 years, right? Not that I'm any good at predicting that, but yeah, it's the idea that it's not going to be here. It's already here. It's already like filtered into just about everything. It's just now more mainstream and popular.
Refund your game, put a bad review. This can't slide. They have money for the artist. Doesn't matter how small the use of Gen AI is. It's a gateway. What happened to using reference sources? I'm extremely disappointed in you, Larian. And I was very curious if, I think this is a great representation. You're seeing so much outrage on social media. Is it leading to a review bombing or anything? And if you actually check the Baldur's Gate 3 review page right now, I was curious to see over the last couple of hours. Maybe this changes by the time this video is, done recording, but it is worth mentioning. There's only, about 200 reviews, 46 negative, another 12 that are negative, 27 positive. So there's a couple mentions of it, but very little. Love the game, but apparently Larian likes to use the plagiarism machine known as generative AI. Larian, don't effing use generative AI for your next game. It's that simple, just don't. The vast majority of the gaming audience, gaming community, very different perspectives so far versus, well, the game developer scene that we're, having right now. Another individual saying, oh man, I was looking forward to this game. I can't support it anymore. This is actually a Ubisoft developer, environmental artist. And then lastly, we have this coming from a senior concept artist who previously worked at Skybound, the Coalition, Bandai Namco, and EA, saying, oh, for F's sake, yeah, I'm not effing buying any game from them from now on if this is how they treat art and pre-production.
Yeah, a lot of these people are talking about this big game. This just, to me, mirrors the internet when they were talking about, we're not buying Switch 2s, they're too expensive, and the games and this and that. And then everyone went out and bought Switch 2s and the games. And it's just, it's all fake. I guarantee you these people, when Larian starts dropping real stuff on it, or the demo, are going to change their tune and pick it up.
And the last comment on this specific topic we have is from another individual from this industry saying, watching Larian go from genius dev darling to most hated overnight because of their use of Gen AI is neat. And it has been loud. It really has. And we're actually seeing this now.
Yeah, Mudahar buying the Switch 2. It's all fake. It's all fake outrage. You're gonna buy it. You're gonna enjoy it. It's just dumb.
Now turn into outrage over other things associated with Larian. But like I said, people are really turning on this studio fast. We now having outrage over their hiring practices. Zoe Quinn saying everyone is more or less okay with it. Dude, you make people emigrate to work there because you don't want to do remote work, the risk having to change countries if they disagree with it. I know this because they tried to recruit me and I strongly considered it, but they are also a do an unpaid writing test where you have to make it playable company, so that's not something I vibe with. And then another individual, another game developer, commented saying, Larian's horrible hiring process is an open secret in the industry. Insane amounts of unpaid work and writing tests, excessive number of interviews, months and months of back and forth, etc. Everyone in game narrative circles has heard the stories at this point, probably from multiple people. We even had a Horizon Forbidden West developer responding saying, for what it's worth, Larian isn't alone in this sort of thing. The application to hiring Gauntlet should not take 6 months, but a number of studios do this because they know there's a pool of candidates that will jump through the endless hoops and swim the ocean of stress to go there to get to the finish line. And then we had another game developer saying,
okay, I would need to see this. This might be true. This absolutely might be true, but I think I need to see more than some dude on Twitter saying it.
A through line in a place that's wasted literally thousands of people's hours on unpaid writing tests and other forms of failing to understand labor. Who could say? And somebody saying, I'm honestly surprised that part of discourse is slipping through the cracks compared to the AI portion. Holy hell, that's insidious. And this game developer saying it's an open secret. We just don't talk about it publicly in the hopes they get their shit together. And well, now it seems like everybody is turning on Larian and bringing up everything they can against this studio. So one final thought that I do have on this matter is that Divinity has seemingly been in development for over 2 years now. So they've been using these Gen AI tools, and that's why I don't think, no matter what Larian does from here on out, if Sven Vink gives a big statement, a big apology and all of that, they're not going to use this moving forward. It doesn't matter. The damage is permanent. It is here to stay. A lot of game developers, a lot of people, especially online, will never view Larian the way that they did beforehand. And that is unfortunate, but that is how this games industry has always worked. But yeah, the sense that I do get from this ordeal is...
Yeah, but we're not showing that the gamers actually care, right? They're not leaving, they're not review bombing it. That's kind of crazy if there was this much backlash going for it. It's just... Larian is, if the game turns out to be good, if the game turns out to be great, the people aren't going to care. And Larian has a track record right now of making good games. Could they fail? It happens all the time, in the industry. So we'll see.
That it's nowhere close to being over, and there's going to be more to this, definitely. It has turned to World War III on social media. It is not slowing down right now, and Larian's damage control has backfired, but it's a mess right now. And I genuinely am very curious. Is this changing your opinion on Divinity? Do you think the reaction is an overreaction or an underreaction? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.
All right, so that is Legacy. Jesus. So I will say about this game, about Sea of Stars, is they need to change the way you turn the camera.
What's going on? So
no, thank you, bud. I appreciate it. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious to use the mouse. I have to squeeze it halfway across my my mat to get anything done, and then I still have to bring it back. So I want to listen to the interview from 7 months ago where he talked about generative AI. I don't know how far we'll go into it. There's a couple sections in here that he talks about different things with it. So maybe about 20 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so of listening to kind of see what he says and see where it comes. So
it's interesting because most people might not know that you're the founder of Larian, but you're also very much involved in the storytelling aspect of it. You're writing a bunch of it, which is kind of rare for people at an executive level. Where do you kind of fall within that whole team, the existing one and the new one it seems you're trying to build here?
Well, I'm the game director, so it's I work on the core story of how the flow of the entire game is going to be, and then I look at the other end how it's.
Hello everyone, I'm
shit.
And it's my pleasure to be joined today by Sven.
So try that. So I'm a little bit everywhere across that entire pipeline, but I'm only one person, so I have an entire team whom I'm working with. So I've got my writing team, I've got my design team. So they're doing a lot of that work. But what we do realize is we need someone that is a little bit more detached from the day-to-day interactions that we're doing, because you get very, very, very close to what you're writing, and so you need somebody that's a little bit more in the background. So that's where that storytelling team is going to fit.
You mentioned earlier that obviously you need people who are specialists in what they do, and then you also alluded to the fact that you have 2 projects in development at the same time. Firstly, is there anything you can tell us about those projects? But secondly, if I'm right in thinking that Larian's about 500 developers ish, which means you're going to have to figure out new ways to kind of workflow that with a new team as well. And you also mentioned earlier machine learning, which is kind of like a alarm signal in a lot of people's heads. So what are these kind of mechanisms that you're putting in place? Are they tools that you're kind of moving towards? Are they more people focused, or are you doing what a lot of larger developers are now doing and looking to stuff like AI and machine learning? How much of that should people be aware of, and how are you going to implement that, if at all?
That's a lot of questions all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with the latter part. Machine learning means a lot of things, right? So for us, we essentially, there's 3 things that we use it for. First is automation of tasks that nobody wants to do. It's the obvious things like motion capture cleaning or voice editing or something very Larian specific, retargeting. So that is basically if you play with different species, you want to be able to reuse an animation on a different species, but they're in different size, and then they're doing certain interactions with others. So these are things for which machine learning works really well. Then there's what's called white boxing. That's an important one for us because it allows us to iterate more rapidly. White boxing is essentially the stage before you actually redo the real implementation, the thing that's going to ship, where you try something out. So it can be that you say, okay, well, let's try these things out. And typically that takes some time before you can actually play it. And so you can accelerate that with machine learning. So it's good for that. And then the most exciting thing is where you can use it for new gameplay. So truth be told, we're not there yet. I don't think we're close to doing that. But you experiment with it because for an RPG developer, what you really want is something that helps with reactivity to agency. So permutations that you did not foresee, reactions to things that the players has done in the world, they will certainly augment the gameplay experience. So that's where that is. But the reason why people typically have the red alarm, the red bells or the red flags, the red lights going on is because it's going to affect people or it's going to steal their work. At least for us, in those departments which are typically flagged in those areas, we see that the amount of people that we're hiring is going up, not going down. And I think it's very normal also because, it's in the end, it's a tool that's available to everybody. So the difference will always be in what you do with it and what people are going to be doing with it, right? So it just changes the baseline from which you start because there are certain true things that you can do faster. But it's always going to be the people that are going to make the difference in it. And so for us, it's super clear that we're investing heavily into the team and the human touch.
If I want to go like devil's advocate on it, right, and try and look at the side of these people who are afraid they're completely losing their jobs, there is an argument for just about everything. The creep, the boiling frog, the water boiling frog, whatever you want to call it, where you see these big companies like say that they just want to replace people. Then you see the slop AI that comes out from them trying to replace people, and you just you get scared, right? It is a scary thing, and there's a lot of jobs that I think are going to get replaced, not just in the movie and gaming industry, but in general, service industry, and different things like that, especially when you start seeing like robotics and stuff like that become more. I don't know how far off we are from any of that. Like I thought self-driving cars was going to expand quicker than it has, but it's been shown that the technology really isn't up to par for that, it seems. So, I understand the fear, but you've gotta like not go after every single person who mentions AI. There's like you said, nuance to everything.
And so to bring it back then to your original question, so what it helps us with, because I mentioned automation, that means that there's more time for doing things. It also means that there's more volume of stuff being produced, which means that we can do more complex things. Now, when complexity goes up, things start getting really interesting. So it's fair to say that the games that are being made today are arguably more complex than they were in the past. So dealing with that complexity is a question of, again, automation, trying to stuff out. There are things that we call that narrative validation. It's basically trying to figure out, I did 300 choices here that led to this particular permutation. Did I write something that's not correct anymore? And then we try to automate the discovery of these things, which is very, it's not working super well yet, but it is something that you want to do because it takes a lot of time to go through these things, and they're not very creative. So you try to organize your processes, your pipeline, to put as much automation as you can to accelerate your iteration. The faster you can iterate, the faster you will get to a certain result. And then the tightening of those pipelines should allow you, in theory, to make your games in a more efficient manner. But I'm deviating, I know, from your original question. But what happens when you do that, it's typically that your complexity goes up because now you say, I can do more. So the net result is exactly the same length of development time that you're going to have. But the way that the roles fluctuate through it is hard to predict. So what we're doing, to now finally really answer your question, is we have teams that are purely focused on the design, and so they're separate from the other teams, and they're just literally focusing on that. While the others are working on the main game and they're preparing everything for the second game. But their ability to pre-visualize things in terms of how it's going to flow is slightly faster than it used to be in the past. Also because we obviously have a very big toolkit that we've developed over this entire period of time. And so our hope is that eventually those things will click into one another. But I'll be very transparent. We're looking still on how that's going to work exactly. It is not it's not something that you can just put on an Excel file and say, and now it goes there. You know, it's very, very, very organic. The art of development remains an art. It's not an exact science.
Yeah, I guess the kind of, we talk about those red flags. I think the thing that people will mostly respond to, and no doubt will probably respond to your kind of reaction, is the human touch element of it. So that's where people are like, oh, if you're kind of, you know, speeding everything up using automation, what's the line between making sure that, you know, you still have that human touch part of it? Because we've seen art out there now that is generated very quickly, and it's the closer, more scrutiny you give it, the more you realize, oh, it's missing things, it's soulless, and that.
It's samey, right?
Kind of stuff. So how do you make sure that line is drawn for people and tell the audience that, hey, we're using automation and AI, that kind of stuff, but the game won't turn into kind of, you know, like generic slop.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to see anything that's generated in the game itself, at least now in what we're making now, except for the online bits, if we ever manage to get that to work. So the reactive bits, but that will be clear. I think I always think of it like FIFA. In FIFA, they're reacting to what you're doing when you're shooting on the goal, and they say, oh, that's striker scores. It's procedural generation that is going on real time. So that's what I meant with the gameplay bits. So there's no new ways of doing that. In terms of the content that's being created, that's still being made by hand. So that's these are very long and complex pipelines before something gets into your hands, right? So the things where it's being used the most is in terms of predicting flow, and flow is a iterative approach. So I'll give you a practical example. So we discovered already in the past that if we write out a situation and we are going to talk about it, we're going to get very excited, right? And then we're going to try to put in the white boxing, we're going to script it, and we're going to try to play it, right? And so if the environment around of the situation is empty, right? What you notice is that the scripting will never have any good feeling to it for some strange reason. Regardless of how much times we talk to the scripters or we try to explain to them, there's a thing, you don't see it, you don't react to it, right? Now, if you completely decorate the entire level and you do the same exercise, you say, here's a situation, and you give it to the scripter, you're going to see that it's completely different, right? So it's going to feel more real, and you get a better feel for, is the situation going to work, yes or no? Now, it takes a lot of time to do that. And it's not necessarily something that's going to ship because it's just a trial at that point in time. If you can accelerate that phase, the iteration time that went into thinking about the flow has been decreased, and so you're going to get more iteration because more things will be tried out, and so you're going to get a better result as at the end of it. At all times in this process, it was the person, the developer that was guiding this process, that was using their creativity. This was not a generator. The only thing that was generated is just the environment at that particular point in time, but that's not something you're going to ship, right? So the same thing goes for pretty much everything that you generate. So you tried to pre-visualize things because it makes it easier, right? And but then afterwards you say, okay, well, I think we're going to go in that direction. Let's now see how that goes to what we call orange box. And in orange box, you make the things by hand. So that's a very different thing still.
So it makes me wonder, like, I think one problem you could run into, right? One issue you might have is, say, a lazy employee. He's been working long hours. He's trying to get it out. They start focusing more on that AI. Is there a way to catch that? Do you like, we see what happened with whatchamacallit, Marathon, where inactive artists were lazy and copied, someone else's art. What's to say the same thing couldn't happen where a team or an individual person doing the concept art gets lazy? What's the scrutiny behind it?
Right. So your kind of like approach is nothing that is created using machine learning AI will be turned into content as is. Like, well, that's just the early phase of it. A person will come in and take everything that you've done there and manually create that by hand.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I have to be careful because so if we, for instance, there is output of machine learning will happen in things like retargeting or in cleaning of motion capture. There you will actually see that gets into the game, but that's not the thing that people are worried about. I think it is more about, are we going to see is that the art that's here, is it generated? In everything that we're doing right now, no, you're not going to see the generated art in the output game that's going to happen. Do we use it during the dev process to pre-visualize things? Yes, we will try things out or to try. But really, even then, I mean, like, don't expect this to be, I think, we're not creating these beautiful, great things. This is just really like, get me, I need a chair and a thing in here so I can just have a look at if it's going to work, right? So don't oversell it either for what it is.
So, I mean, so far what it sounds like, at least from his, and he's kind of like looping, so we may move a little bit forward on it, is, we've gone through the first part, is it's very like small time in the very beginning of the thing. Obviously, he's using AI stuff to increase workflows and stuff like that. There is some problems I have with it, of like, if you're trying to find, I guess, errors and the AI misses it, is there another eye, a person's eye looking over it? Not that people can't miss it. People miss shit all the time. So the AI is probably more efficient. But this isn't egregious to me as a gamer, and it's not like a reason that I should think it'll go over. Not that the whole industry should come down on Larian for their use of AI. I am entering a lighthouse.
It is a tool to help you accelerate your development process.
Right. So there's not going to be any characters with like 5 hands unless it's intended to be there.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
No, certainly not. I mean,
do you ever foresee a time where that kind of like jump could happen, where you feel confident enough in AI to allow it to create content, or is that something that you fundamentally believe as a principle of, the studio and your own creative process, you'll never make that jump?
So I don't think you would have a competitive advantage if you do, because it's going to be what's available to everybody, right? So that's what I meant with the baseline. If the baseline goes up because generation is available to everybody, fine, that's a new reality that we're in, but you're still going to want to create something special on top of that, right? So, and I think that's where teams like us will make the difference. We're a very boutique team. We're actually crafting the situations, and the flow of the story by hand is the thing that we do.
Yeah, this is the thing I've always thought of it. It's like, there probably will be a point that, like, and even you're seeing some people try and do it now, where I could craft my own game, right? In there, and I could see uses for that, for something, or just to have fun with, but I don't know that it's gonna, like, I don't know that it'll ever replace, like full on media. Not in the way, like, people will show these obviously not gameplay of a game and be like, look how close we are to making these kind of games with it. And you're like, well, no, not really. You're just showing you're just showing an AI movie that looks like a game. Like, where are the mechanics? How, can you plug it in and play it? And I think it's the same thing with movies. Like, the movie industry may kill itself by just making slop stuff, right? We're already seeing it in ads and everything else where the ads are starting to use it and you're just like this. I mean, ads have always been slop, and now it just looks even worse.
It's when we talk to people about it, this is always the discussion, right? So, oh my God, our jobs are going to disappear. I said, no, but you're just going to work differently, potentially, but you're still going to be making the difference. I don't think that people in my position that say like, oh, we'll replace everybody by AI are doing the right thing. I think they're doing the wrong thing. What I do think is that we're going to jump forward in the type of games that we make. So we're going to make better games that improve in simulating reality and suspending our disbelief. So we're going to be making our games differently. That's, I think, goes without any doubt. But to say that it will replace the craftsmanship, I think we're very far from it. For that to happen, you would need real intelligence, I think, and real creativity. And even then, I'm not sure if you're going to get actually human emotion in there also. So you'll need all those things you'll need a human, to be honest. So now it's the android's dream of electric sheep, right? So, but as long as the human difference is there, we will be able to make a difference. But we'll be able to do more, and that's what you see today already. I mean, again, because people often say, "Oh yeah, the automation," but the automation is a huge thing. I don't know if people understand how much time an animator spends on stuff they don't want to work on, and that now that's being taken away because you can automate it. It's a huge thing, so it adds a lot to the time that they have to work on the creative stuff.
Yeah, as you mentioned, do you anticipate saving that time, using that time to shorten development cycles, or do you think it will be the same kind of period of time, just more focused where you want it to be instead of where it needs to be at times?
So I think the naive thing is to think that it will shorten them. I think that I think this is an age-old truth. If you give a developer 2 years, they'll take 3. So the same thing will be the case here with what you're going to give them in terms of abilities to do stuff. If they have the ability to do things faster, they'll just do more, which is what you want actually. Also, that's why I think it will improve state of the art in terms of games that we're going to see. You're going to see more and more things, but they will be used in creative ways that we haven't even imagined yet.
So you mentioned the storytelling department is the new thing that you're kind of working on and setting up, and you've got your roles out there, which people can find and apply to if they feel they have a shot or are qualified or want to take a crack at it. One of the things that's been kind of in my mind is the sensibility and the...
We're going to figure out what this thing is right here.
...identity of the studio, which I think more and more to people is something they pay attention to. And I think what makes Larian kind of unique, or in the minds of fans and people generally, what makes Larian stand out is you're a pretty big team, but you also have that very independent sensibility at the core. So that's something now that I and a lot of people are probably thinking about. How do you maintain that same kind of indie energy while both expanding the amount of people that you have and also adding these tools that are kind of more advanced?
Yeah, it's a challenge. So I mean, the baseline attitude to that is to it's going to sound super corporate, to empower the developer. But the idea is really that we try to give every single developer as much freedom as they can get without walking outside of the general lane in which we're heading. Or to place it, there's a certain direction. Here's something that we need. Go and do your thing and add whatever you can with X amount of time. So the way that we organize that, I talked about that at last GDC, I think, is the feature group, where we just say, this is your feature. You own this together with the team that's assigned to it. Do the best that you can with it. We'll look at it from time to time. If it's too much out of control, we'll tell you, but otherwise, this is your thing. And so that works super well. So it's one of our secret tricks. It's not that secret, but it works. So I think at GDC we gave the example of the BART class on BG3. It was one of the most successful ones, where we just said to the developers, here's the BART class, these are the things that need to happen with it, go and have fun with it. And then what we got out of it was so much more than what we expected. And that works really well when you leave people and you give them the room and the trust to do their thing. And so that attitude, I think, is important to protect. So we do our best.
I mean, if that's a true attitude where they're letting the artists do the artist thing, Like I said, it doesn't even sound like in any capacity they're forcing anybody to use AI. I'm still, you know, hard to see what the problem is here outside of normal AI derangement, right? I'm pretty much getting the gist of this, so we're going to move on to the hater, because if I'm going to listen to people who, you know, I'm listening to him and his use of it, so now I want to listen to someone who's going to tell me why it's so bad. And it's this channel right here. Hey, Jay Dunnan. I've never heard of him, but I just happened to pop it up. He's someone to listen to, one of the first haters that I found. So let's see what he says.
Hey everyone, generative AI really sucks, and unfortunately every single gaming company out there is using it in some capacity, including Larian Studios. You've probably seen headlines today talking about this, and there was actually a lot of really bad headlines out there that were kind of clickbaity and trying to make up some things that aren't directly true, and unfortunately a lot of people only read the headlines, but it's bad, and I want to discuss it. Now, I actually talked about this back in April 2025, this article here on GameSpot, and there's an interview that they went on talking about their future and how they are using it for things like motion capture cleaning, voice editing, and other specific things, like if you have a character model and you were trying to animate it, using AI for things like that. So essentially just using it to save time in development, and it's unfortunate, but every single company, unfortunately, is now doing that. But today, they had an interview with Bloomberg, and Sven Vink actually said, I think at this point, everyone in the company is more or less okay with the way we're using it. I think that's a little bit of plausible deniability there. He does note that there are some pushback, and actually people have left Larian because of this. And you may have seen this tweet popping around here. Consider my feedback. I loved working at Larian Studios until AI. Reconsider and change your direction. Like yesterday, show your employees some respect. They are world-class and do not need AI assistants to come up with amazing ideas. And apparently there has been a few that have left Larian because of this. And Swen responded, holy frig bud, we're not pushing hard or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, which 23 of them are concept artists, and they're actually looking to hire more. One thing I do want to note is that other companies are actually firing people to use generative AI, but we'll get to that. The art that they create is original. I'm proud of what they do. We're asked explicitly about concept art and other use of Gen AI, which I answered, and we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop the concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world-class artists. They're using AI to explore references like we use Google and art books. A lot of people also use things like Pinterest and Tumblr, things like that. At the very early ideation stages, we use this rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There's no comparison. I just don't like that, straight up. I don't like that. Generative AI is stealing from other artists. So I have a big problem with that. And he does link back to that article that I talked about at the start, and I talked about it in a previous video as well. He says we've hired creatives for their talent, not their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. Now, from other wording, it does sound like it's the artists themselves that are going ahead and using these tools. I don't think Sven's going around saying, hey, you got to use AI. But nonetheless, that is still concerning. I think generative AI is not good and does not have a place in the creative world. For doing like protein folding and other actually useful things, then yeah, it's kind of worth it. But there's obviously a very strong line in where that becomes not okay. Merriam-Webster actually gave the 2025 Words of the Year to exactly what this is described as. Slop. It literally is slop, stuff you feed to pigs. Now, I don't know what it's like to run a large company.
Whoa. Let's watch the use of that. Now, I do love my slop. Yeah, but here's the thing, like the pushback is like we're talking about the difference between the end of the project, right? And yeah, I agree. There needs to be something, like we need laws to come out about AI and the material that they're pulling from and things like that. Like the Ghibli Studio stuff is a good example. Yeah, pig slander. It will not be tolerated. We love our slop here, but that's our word, right? You know, I definitely think there's some laws that need to be made about them just scraping the internet and stealing artists' work, right? But we're not talking about, you know, when we're talking about Larian, we're not talking about like the end product is the 5 fingers of oh god, hold on, let me get this guy. All right, let's get some on here. It's a tool that can be easily abused. Yeah, just like any tool. Oh God, go. Where are you going? Why am I locked? Oh, well, he ran into me and died. That works, I suppose. Get someone on the... There we go. Some of y'all may not like a game like this, but I actually love a game like this. I think there's some things they need to work on. Like, I have to turn my DPI on my mouse like way up to actually be able to move my mouse around and aim. And even then, it's still kind of odd, I should say. Let's see here. We're steam engineering around. But yeah, it's a tool that can be used, but there needs to be some kind of regulation behind it. I don't think there's, outside of the AI bros who don't, who just want to copy and paste things and say that they're artists. I don't know many people who are stating that it should be allowed to just scrape the internet and steal people's ideas.
So I'm not sure what the disconnect is. Maybe he thinks that, like, dating back to this interview in October or April, where he says that they're using it for like different models and cleaning up capture and voice editing. But the fact that he also just recently talked about using it for ideation stages, that I am just not a big fan of. And I don't think that this made it look any better, unfortunately. It sucks, but that's exactly the world that we're living in right now. And it really just sucks. Unfortunately, every single company out there is doing it. So, I mean, it's just getting normalized. And I don't think that that's okay. Unfortunately, unions, especially in gaming, don't have that much of a leg to stand on to actually push back against this. And that's why it's actually important for us to voice our concerns around it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are just blindly agreeing with everything Larian says, because I've seen people sharing this post by Sven saying, hey, they aren't doing it to create things, but they literally says they're using it in the very early ideation stages.
I hate this idea because you could say the exact same thing about, anyone else. Jesus Christ, I am... All right, we're busting up out of here. Let's get some. Let's wreck that engine a little bit and get away from these dudes. I need to head south. I don't want to head against the term. Let's bring it down one. Yeah, I mean it's there's people who think AI can be used properly, and that's where it comes from. If you think it can be used properly, then that's the way it is. I don't know what else to say about that, but just saying that it's all like just Larian shills is just like saying that it's just all people who just hate AI for no reason.
That doesn't mean that they're creating any concept art, though. I just want to also make that part clear. They're using it to come up with ideas like you would use Google and you'd use Pinterest to be able to kind of find what you're wanting to reference. And their director of publishing was also talking on Twitter here. And back in April, their stance on AI and workflows was established. I'm not sure why this is coming up now as a controversy, the timing of it. And that's kind of what I was saying. I was talking about this a little while ago and no one really seemed to care. Like, yes, there's a little bit of nuance. It's a gray situation, but I think the gray is AI sucks. Unfortunately, it sucks. Black and white, it sucks. But I also do want to mention that they are hiring more people. Like, they're not using this to downsize. They're using it or letting their employees use this as a tool. There's some that are actually happy with it. Some that are just okay with it. But it seems like there's actually a lot that aren't as well and maybe not so happy to voice up and speak their opinions on it. But he also says, again, yeah, we don't use AI for art. We have people who create the art and various tools that they're supposed to do that. This is normal in industry practice. They use, they dream, they conceptualize, they paint. It's theirs. The thing is, they're using like the AI itself instead of using things like Pinterest for inspiration. So, I mean, either way, it's coming back around. And I do think it's probably better for them just to, stop doing that, unfortunately. It's probably better to just get your inspiration the way, like Baldur's Gate 3 didn't have this, and it turned out to be one of the best games of all time. So I really don't think that they need to use generative AI in the earliest stages. And again, it is in the very, very early stages, so we're not going to see anything AI slop like we do see in like Call of Duty Black Ops 7. But again, I want to voice my concern on this because people are losing their jobs over this. It's destroying the environment. People don't care about the environment, unfortunately. So you got to talk about where it's actually hurting them. And it's making people dumber. So not only is like a lot of people's jobs at risk because of AI, but it's making the average person dumber. We need to kind of pull back that and pop the AI balloon But unfortunately, I do think that that is a little bit too late. And again, it is very normal industry practice at this time. Every single gaming company is out there. And that's why I started my video off by saying that. It's literally every single company. People are giving them a hard time. And I don't think that there shouldn't be like this much hate over it. Obviously, it's a bad thing and we should be criticizing it. But I've seen a lot of very not nice worded things, which I think is a bit extreme. Like, people like to bring up the pitchforks and be angry over everything, and I understand. Like, I hate AI. I've been very clear with that. But again, he does say that it's, instead of like searching through books for the inspiration for your like early concept art stages, or using Google, you're using a generative example, which maybe it's going to pull from other artists, but I mean, they may have been searching on Google and Pinterest in the first place to get their ideas from those same artists. Like, it's just a really unfortunate situation, and they probably shouldn't be doing this. Unfortunately, a lot of jobs are threatened because of
okay,
AI.
Hold on. Did they flat out say that people aren't using Google and other things, or is it just, or did he say, like, I don't think that's what he said. He said it's like using those tools, and it can give him very basic stuff, but that doesn't mean that they're going around and, you know, flat out ignoring other art or other things. Like, there's a lot of definitely like folk horror in that scene, and I doubt they just got that from AI. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of God, I wish this is kind of dumb. The monsters shouldn't keep chasing you this long. You know, that's going to happen. People are going to look for ideas or things that they've seen. So this is just an added tool, maybe. Ooh. Oh, he sunk me.
Another reason that I think people should be pushing back regarding it. And even myself as a YouTube content creator, like, unfortunately, like, I try to make videos as high quality as possible, but there are people out there in the Baldur's Gate 3 like community that are making videos and using AI thumbnails, a bunch of AI stuff, and it's, unfortunately, it's a tool that they're using, and you kind of fall behind. I'm not using that kind of stuff, but competitors are, and they're able to get, like, for example, certain videos that I do on a specific topic that only me and a few other people cover, I try to make them high quality. I test all the mods that I'm putting in the videos to make sure I'm actually accurately showing them and talking about what they're able to do. But there's other people out there that use AI to get that video made before I do, and then it hurts my video. So everyone is getting...
I see now. You're upset because AI slop channels are... outdoing you and you know that's AI killing your thing. I mean, I agree there's a problem with the use of these things, of AI as a whole, especially around YouTube, but a lot of it you can notice. And outside of like the slop channels that just pour out slop for slop's sake, I don't know what to tell you, bud. Work faster, work harder, use AI. I don't suggest using AI, but it sounds a little like you're just irritated by this tool being used in YouTube.
Hurt by AI because it's literally just slop. It's garbage, rubbish. It just heartbroke me to read this comment.
I'm sorry that my stuff is creative and, you know, higher quality than everyone else, but no one's watching me.
From that person I referenced earlier, how they're leaving Larian because of the use of generative AI in their game, and there's others in the art industry. Obviously, everyone's in the art industry is actually upset with AI because it destroys it, and there's a lot of people that are coming in pretending to be AI artists and using AI, and it's not even like one millionth of the effort it takes an artist to make that same image. I guess we'll have to wait and see, because I'm sure Sven's going to have to talk on this again. I personally don't love this.
It takes one way to create the same image. I thought it was all slop. Like, there's one thing that I do say, like, there's a lot of artists out there, and I have no problem with you being an artist and doing artist things, but art isn't always the same quality, right? Sometimes you're not as good an artist as you think you are. Again, I don't like that AI is being used to replace jobs, but it just sounds more bitter than you actually looking into it.
Response, but I mean, he's being honest with us. You got to give him that. He is talking about it, and every other company, again, is also doing the same. they're using it for concept art. That sucks. But I don't know, maybe he just doesn't know the way they're using machine learning. There is some ways where it is like saving time for their staff to do things that matter more for the game development. But I think in a like creative sense, there should not be any AI. It's literal slop, and it should just be gone from gaming, unfortunately. It's never going to be that way. Can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle, and it just sucks. I just want to...
So what I want this guy to do is I want him to play... I want him to play Divinity when it comes out, right? And point out the slop. Point out the AI stuff, right? It's easy to do when you see someone like Activision use it. But let's take a look at Larian's use of it and like what makes it AI, what is ruining their experience. They're supposedly getting this game out in 4 years? They started 2 years ago. It's supposed to be 2026, so 3 years. And if it's as high as quality or higher quality, which is a big ask, as Baldur's Gate 3, I think they may be using the AI correct. Now, this is me speaking without knowing what could come up. We could see the game and it could be absolute AI slop, and I will fucking tear Larian a new asshole, and no one will hear about it. Except my little amount of people who come in and watch me. But we're just jumping the fear mongering and some of the animosity people have because they have lost their jobs in the games industry or in other industries because big corporations don't give a fuck. They just want it done cheaper.
I'm gonna rant a little bit about this because it made me sad, and I'm not just going to sit here and defend Larian because I love Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm excited for Divinity and I've loved all their previous games. I have to just give a realistic point of view. Like, this is how I view it, and I think it sucks. So feel free to leave me your ideas down in the comments below. I'm always curious to hear what others think. I think that this really does suck for gaming, and it's unfortunately the way things are going to be going forward. So woohoo, more AI slop. That sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Immediately it's thrown in there as AI slop. It's going to be bad because AI was used. And, I mean, as we've seen with other games that have come out recently that have used it, including apparently Expedition 33, that's not the case. It can be used properly to create something wonderful. So, I'm not a fan of generative AI in general, but the derangement that these people have is it's just that. It's a derangement with no real look at it. And all it does is make the rest of the people around it not give a fuck. Like, right? Or, I mean, not that, the normal consumer is going to give a fuck. They're going to see if Divinity comes out and it's high quality, they're going to fucking buy it. They're probably going to buy it anyway. And if it's bad, the next game will suffer for it. So, but yeah, that's my opinions. I think this guy is just a little angry that his YouTube videos aren't getting as many views as he may have gotten before. And that is pretty much all I got for the night. I got 30 minutes left, though. We'll talk about this game. So this one will probably be a short one. I'll only play it this time. I do have some other games and other demos in the right. So one day I may play a demo for like one day. The next I may play a game or something like that for a week. I want to, there's so many indie games out there that I love playing. And I am one of the people that jumped ship a long time ago when people started saying, the gaming industry is dying. And, I'm not going to pay for those games anymore. I'm one of the ones that actually jumped ship and went to the indie scene, and I found tons of great games that are out there for whatever genre you like. Like, I'm a huge turn-based fan, so I'm really excited for Menace. I've been actually excited to see for a long time. It's the makers, the publishing company is the ones who made Battle Brothers, which is a great tactical game. So much fun to play. I've got I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I have Caves of Cud, a number of other indies that I've played over the years. And I have bought some AAA, like Ark Ark isn't AAA, but you know what I mean. But I want to showcase some of the the games that I like playing, the games that I like seeing. This one, these are really story-driven games, so I like this one. If you've never played, if you like a story-driven game in like a really odd world, I definitely suggest at least Sunless Skies. It's more like a book adventure. Like a lot of it is in this screen right here, with you boating around to places, fighting, stuff like that. One thing that works differently, and it's not so much shown here, is that the way these games were originally set up is when you die, your character is dead, but then like his next lineage gets the ship and takes over. So some of your progress travels with you, some of it's forgotten, and you kind of keep going until you meet the goal that you want to get. And Sunless Skies, it's usually like either become rich or discover crazy things, become the most well-known and renowned captain, which Sunless Skies is with trains, but they're still captains. I need to hire one more person at the bar. This is a little bit different than some of them because you've got like individual crewmates, and a lot of the other games that have come out that are similar to this, you have just a number that's your crew. Like Sunless Skies, you have a number that's your crew, and then you have specialist people that you can hire that are like written in characters. This one seems like it's going for a more generative one. I don't know that it'll have characters when it comes out, but they all have different skills. You never know all of their skills, but they'll have something here for you. Though them showing this I don't know if this just gives away the goat on what their stuff is. He's an officer. He's a drowned tattoo artist. We're just going to go with him. Yeah, he'll make some of my stuff better. But I like this method where it's like they can get tired. Each pip is something that they can do while they're on the ship. And also when they're doing different tasks, like you saw the one with the crossbars, where you can pick different people to do multiple different things, and you get a success or failure, but you can only do so much. They get tired, they get worn out. They can also absolutely hate each other. Oh, hold on. What does it say? Oh, I need 4 crew members for this ship because it's a bigger ship. Got it. If anyone disagrees with me or agrees with me about the AI stuff, bring it up. I like chatting about all those different things. It seems like this is way overblown. You can argue about the AI, I get it, but the amount of hate, it's like Larian are at the top right now with Baldur's Gate, and the sharks in the water found a reason to go after them. And I'm sure a lot of them, it is genuine fear of AI. Like these guys, you can't see their stuff. Gotcha. But but it still just seems so performative on so many different ways, in so many different ways. But we'll see what happens. Go back. Let's go out here to sea. I know there probably won't be a lot of people that enjoy a game like this just because it's like very slow paced. He's a cook. Yeah, he's going to be our cook. He's going to captain. You're going to look out. You're the engineer. And you are going to help the engineer. So we'll just do one pip per person. And go from there. I said, I think they need to change the mouse. I have to move my mouse quite a bit to get it turned. And in combat, that's a little odd for it. A lot of other games don't have this 3D view. Like, I don't think Sunless Sea or the other one have this 3D view. I like that. I like that it's gone to like this. I like that this company has gone with this aesthetic. I like the art for it. I just think they need a better way to to do the turns. At least let me put in a key, and I'm sure that may be something in the works. You have coal. I should have bought some coal. Should have bought some coal. Usually there's all sorts of different styles of ships. Boop, boop, boop. As you can see, there's the wind. So we're not moving very fast because we're not using our steam engine or coal engine, and we're not in a favorable wind. Plus, we're probably a bigger ship. Evening dog watch. Oliver and Astrid talk about mermaids. How sweet. Okay, so I want that to be kind of like this. So I'm catching that wind. Is this the way? Is that how I do it? Is that how I do it? There is a lighthouse in the middle of this. I want to see how many different things they eventually have too that you can discover and find. That was my favorite thing, was going for it. Now, if this one is more generative than say some of the others, then it may get a little bit boring. Definitely need to be some handcrafted things. I think that's what no, that's just a wrecked ship. Stern thuds quietly. Bum, bum. And then this should go into the other interactive menu. A floating bazaar appears amid the waves, flying the flag of the Clockwise Trading Company. The proprietor comes out to greet you. Pursue his wares. Ooh, let's get like 2 coal. There we go. I own 70 shot. We'll go with that. And he's gone. Let's turn up the heat. Get moving a little bit. Ooh, almost hit a rock. Far from shore, close for shore. I'm hoping that this Divinity thing, like the game, shows that they're still making good games and everything else, because I'm going to be heartbroken if Divinity turns out to be shit. You know what I mean? I don't know what those things are. I wonder if they just summon. Let's do this. This is interesting that I haven't seen, like cities in it. I like figuring things out. I like to learn about the story. All right, here we go. Oh, there's some bad guys. Ooh. Oh, I like this ship. It shoots all the directions I need. Uh-oh, keep going, keep going, keep going. Get out of here, you. Oh, I see. Captain's log. Lurking east was trouble of the blah, 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 and we have had better claim the rewards. Okay, we killed the monster we were supposed to kill. Let's head towards the next one. very slow-paced games you can just sit around and just, you know, listen to a YouTube video to, you know, come up with your dumb ideas, talk about them with your audience. Definitely not as high-paced as some of them that are out there. But again, if you have any indie games or anything like that that you want to see me try out, I got a bunch in my little indie game box in my Discord, but you can always put more in there. Whoa, what the hell is that? Oh, snap! Oh, hold on. Oh, shit. Get away. Oh, no, I'm gonna... Come on, get off the shore, get off the shore. There we go. There we go. Okay. Where's the other one at? Oh no, there's one of those things. Let's get a little bit of speed here. Woo, buddy. Combat isn't necessarily crazy in these games, but I still enjoy it. I'm a fan of just about any kind of ship combat. All right, let's break it down a little bit. Let's go back to sails. I enjoy the idea of sailing across the seas. Me and the wife even considered at one point learning how to sail, going to courses, you know, and then going out and sailing and getting better and better at it, and then using that as like our little retirement thing and just like sail down the coast. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to sail across the ocean, but sailing down to some different places and going from there. What the heck is going on here? Wish I know. Someone is hurt. Go to the crew page. Now, it looks like everybody is hurt. Who is our doctor? Fix. Yeah. We'll all do it. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Oh, I completely turned the wrong way. Completely. These maps usually tend to be huge. Near the far middle. I mean, obviously this one isn't yet because it's the demo, but they usually get pretty. There's usually tons of stuff. Sunless Sea is huge, and so is Sunless Skies. There you go, boys. Now let's get you working on them. I got a robot game for the next one. Technically, it's already come out, but it just did like a huge overhaul. It's called Phantom Brigade. It is a tactical game where like Mech Warrior style, but it's got an interesting concept where you have some predictive technology. So when you set up your battles, the battles are almost like they're in real time, but you set up like the movements based off of the predictive technology, and you get to decide where they go. And then you hit play, and it goes through like a 5 seconds of your movement before you move on to the next one. A prisoner hulk adrift a sea without any mates or engine to truly sail. It carries prisoners wherever the waves take it until they eventually starve or throw themselves overboard. Let's approach the vessel. The prisoners eye you enviously as you approach. Freedom. Easily seized, they were not left adrift at sea. You noticed each is chained to a cannonball by the ankle. There are a lot of prisoners, which makes for a lot of cannonballs. Perhaps a good source of ammunition if you freed them. Yeah, let's do that. 39 cannonballs. Wonder if that'll come to bite me. You climb aboard and break their chains. They're a bloodthirsty bunch, but admirably enough admirable. I can't say words. Enough to you for giving them back their freedom. As you take the cannonballs back to the Bugle, you wonder what they'll get up to next. Something unlawful happened. Nice. So in this world, they just put their prisoners on a boat and send it off to sea. That's interesting. All right, let's get in this right here, because that's probably my... I don't have the music on. Let's... Can I go to the settings? I know there was a escape. Maybe I have to be on land. Oh no. More damage. And morale went down. More of a study room than a keeper's quarters. Scrolls, prototypes fill every corner. The centerpiece of the studious scene, a skeleton crouching over a scroll of measurements spread across a table. Its bone fingers clutch a long, dried quill. Just another hazard of the job. Take the measurements. Ugh, they didn't like that at all, did they? You try your best to not disarrange the drawing compass, ink, pots, or rulers, and manage to lift the measurements off the table without knocking anything over too far off balance. Still, with the perfect preservation now disturbed, bones clatter to the ground and you take your leave. Something unlucky and rational happened. Measurements. Okay. The games don't usually have, like, this is usually a form of currency, measurements. There's also, like, favors from different companies. It's usually always a huge amount of, yeah, like all of these. This will be Stripling Teeth will be something. Then you've got measurements, star charts, and things like that. They'll make things in the game that tend to help you along, right? Dreadfully Prenny, gear rights, gear right favor, right? You can use that to get something you want out of the gear rights or from someone else who the gear rights may know. So that's what I like about these games. There's quite a bit of depth to it as you play through them. And I like any game where you can play your own story in your head. That's just the best. That's the best way I like to play. My own cannon as a sea captain. I know, I need to keep going back to fixing my dudes. Their mood's going up, at least. It's super low for everyone. Let's start with a captain. Doctoring. I'm going to have someone else start doctoring. Astrid is being treated by Oliver. But I like the idea of your crew interact. That's one thing you don't get from Sunless Skies is your crew interacting with each other, where their moods are changing. Some of them will argue with each other because they have different beliefs. The Beelug sails is up to something glittering on the ocean surface. It's a message in a bottle. Read the contents. You uncork the bottle and begin to read. To them that find this missive, consider it my humble addition to the grand corpus of nautical knowledge. The occasion of my being marooned on this island finally gives me the opportunity to commit this advice to the page. Over 20 pages of cramped, badly spelled script, mostly in wildly out of date and frankly dangerous. There are, however, at least one or two nuggets of wisdom, and we got some experience. Boom. Can I? Boom, boom, boom. Ba-dum. Wages owed. 300. I got me up to 100. Let's go. Let's go. Doctoring. Yeah, I'll do some doctoring. Let's go map. It's to see, so. Boop. Oh, didn't see you. Hey, you. Shove off. I need to get someone on the hull. Carpentry. Man, you do too much. You do everything. Hopefully you'll see other ships going around here. You know, you'll get to fight with other ships, pirates. I think we can push this up. Or does it just help it? I'm going to go in and turn in this quest. We're going to call it a day. And I'm going to put the link to, I didn't do it, I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to put the link to the game in the description, so you can go pick it up, wishlist it, test out the demo for yourself if it's the kind of game that you like to see or want to play. Oh man, I didn't make any money. I'm about to make money right here. Boom, 600 crowns and Imperial favors. But with that, we are going to call it a night here. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. If you haven't liked the stream, please like it on the way out. It helps me out immensely. And if you find the content interesting, me talking about gaming subjects while I play games, hit subscribe. Hopefully be on a more steady schedule now that I've got some things taken care of. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday are generally my streaming days. So you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for coming by.